Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto legendary Anbu chunin exams. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by x-EliteAssassin-x and link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. Young Ambus written by Junex. Kakashi looked down at the small boy lying on the floor. The boy was lying in a pool of his own blood, his breath coming in rattling gasps. His eyes flickering, showing two beautiful sapphire eyes that sparkled like the ocean's depths. Usually there would be a glint of mischievousness in those eyes, but the only emotion they showed now was desperation. Kakashi tore his eyes away from the small boy and looked around the apartment. Blood was smeared over the walls. Blood he knew was the boy's. Some of the smears spelt words such as demon, evil fox, die, brat, murderer, and so on. Kakashi turned his gaze back to the boy and studied his injuries more carefully now. There was a smell of burning flesh where a vial of acid had been poured on his hand. He was suffering from a poison-induced fever and was covered in cuts and bruises. His right arm and left leg had almost been completely hacked off and his chest stabbed, making his breathing labored. All in all, it was a truly horrific sight. Kakashi sighed at the stupidity of the villagers and gathered the boy into his arms with gentleness similar to a father's and rushed over to the Konoha hospital. Naruto woke up breathing heavily as he remembered what he could have that night. He had first been attacked by the villagers who then proceeded to destroy his apartment and then an Ambu had come, Kakashi had come. Kakashi had picked him up and taken him to the hospital where he recovered for 2 months and in the meantime Kakashi had seen the old man Hokage. Naruto knew little of what took place, except that as soon as he recovered he was sent to live in the Ambu headquarters. He'd been living there for 6 years now and today was his 10th birthday. Naruto thought about the past 6 years. Naruto had grown a lot under the Anbu tutelage. He was already at a high chunin level in Taijutsu and low jounin level in ninjutsu and was currently improving on his terrible genjutsu and even worse kenjutsu. But Naruto knew despite his faults, he was well above genin level in all 4 areas and so was extremely advanced for his age. It was just an added bonus that he had enormous chakra reserves that were double Kakashi sensei's and he healed at an abnormally fast rate, all thanks to a certain fluffball. Naruto had been informed of his furry little friend when he was about 6 and one night had a rather dangerous encounter with said fox in the recesses of his mind. Since then he and Kyuubi had a strong mental link. In all true honesty he was surprised Kyuubi sensei wasn't up yet. Yeah, Naruto was being trained by Kyuubi. It wasn't common knowledge though and only a select few people knew. Most people thought he was just practicing, but in reality he was increasing his speed and stamina along with creating some new jutsus. The fox really was an extremely useful source of information. Along with it he was often trained by his father figurehead Kakashi and some others who were close to him. Kakashi mainly trained him in ninjutsu, Anko-ni in kenjutsu, Yamato sensei in taijutsu, and his best friend Raven in genjutsu. As his thoughts turned to Raven his gaze wandered to a photo on his bedside table. In the picture there were 5 people, Raven, Lita, Kawaii, Sai and himself. They were his best friends and as a group they had been through a lot together. Raven was in best words, pleasantly dark, cold, sadistic and regularly emitted a strong killing intent. Raven had grown up in Anbu. Damn her Otu-san for being the top Anbu captain. Sure, it came with the advantage of being an advanced shinobi for her age, but it also came with the price of boredom and the only boy who had been her age was a boy named Sai who never showed any emotions and was absolutely no fun at all. So Raven spent her life being trained by the sadistic and crazed Kunoichi Anko, which she had to admit was evilly fun at times. Haha. So you can imagine how happy she was at the age of 6 to gain a best friend in the 4-year-old who one day appeared at Anbu HQ. Her sunshine, Naruto Uzumaki. About a year later Raven was told after passing a rather pathetic genin exam that she would be replacing a Kunoichi on a team that had graduated 3 years previously. The word fun sarcastically jumped to mind. On her team was none other than 2 well-known Uchihas, Uchiha Itachi and Shisui. After meeting them and feeling Itachi's killer intent, she got the feeling they would get on just fine, and so they did. Later that year they took the chunin exam and all passed. Raven though was not recognized and many people thought it was only thanks to the Uchiha she had made it through. Raven did not bother correcting them. 3 years later Raven was engaged to Itachi through an arranged marriage. Damn Uchihas. In the same year Itachi went ballistic, killed all Uchihas except his Itaudo. Raven was of course in the Anbu retrieval unit that went after him. The end result. Her teammates lay dead and Raven in a Manjukeo Sharingan-induced mental coma, which Naruto managed to pull her out of 2 months later. Lita was an earth nymph and had been found to her horror by Orochimaru and had grown up with the Sound 5, who in her time were the Sound 6. But as you should know, serpents aren't welcome in the Garden of Eden, and so Lita being the good little nymph she was ran away and found protection in the form of Konoha's Ambu. She and another girl Ichigo-san had been replacements for Raven's team which had earlier that year disbanded, or so she was told. Aoi Ichigo originated from the Hidden Mist village. Hell, her Otu-san was the fucking Mizukage. She had been on the Hidden Mist hunter squad along with her best friend Haku, who had one day betrayed them to join a S-rank missing nin called Zabuza Mamachi. Stupid fucking boys. Hurt by the betrayal and immensely pissed off from the misdirected ridicule that her father and Iniki had aimed for her, she also ran away and joined Konoha Ambu. Little is known about Sai. He was orphaned as a child and was brought into Root, an independent subdivision of the Anbu, which trained him to have no emotions whatsoever. Sai at some point in time met an older member of Root who took a liking to Sai's drawing ability, and Sai came to think of him as a brother within the organization. Eventually, his brother died of illness, and Sai was once again alone in Root. Sai is a talented artist and claims to have drawn thousands of pictures. Despite the magnitude of things he has drawn, he has never given one of his works a name, his lack of emotion, making it impossible for him to give something a title. His drawing abilities are also the source of his jutsu, and by drawing things with a brush on his scroll, he is able to bring his drawings to life. In doing so, Sai is able to create birds that he can use for flight, creatures that he can use for attack, and clones of himself to be used for reconnaissance. But Sai soon found a relief to his loneliness in the form of a blonde boy and 3 girls. Naruto looked at the picture and thought of his friends, yep, they were a strange bunch alright. Not long after forming their friendship, they had started to train together and had unwittingly formed a team. Raven was the tracker of the team. Raven had a strong mental link with ravens, and so she used them for tracking and information purposes. Even from birth, Raven couldn't be found without a raven by her side. Hell, she had yet to be seen without 2 ravens by her side. Raven's best areas were Jinjutsu and Kinjutsu. Anko had trained her in sword wielding for a good part of her childhood, and Jinjutsu was something she had picked up from the Uchihas, Jinjutsu being one of Itachi's strong points. Thanks to his Sharingan mastery, with the exception of Kurenai, there had yet to be a team found that could rival the team Jinjutsu of Raven and the Uchihas. Raven wasn't good in Taijutsu as she preferred long-range combat. Raven could only perform one kind of elemental ninjutsu, and hell did she excel at it. Raven was a lightning mistress. She could regularly be seen drifting across the skies of the hidden village in an orb of black lightning, followed closely by her ravens. Lita was the team's healer, being an earth nymph. It was in her nature to be nurturing towards all living things, and she also excelled in one area of ninjutsu, that of course being earth. She was better than Raven and Sai in Taijutsu, and was learning from Raven in Jinjutsu, and for the love of Kami-sama, she could not do Kinjutsu. Of course, having been brought up in the Sound Six, she also had a dark side. Get on the wrong side of her extremely kind nature, and you could find yourself in a hedge of blackthorns tortured to death. Naruto knew that not to be a pretty sight from experience. Aoi Ichigo Cute Strawberry was the team's thinker. Sure, to any outsider she just looked like your average blonde who liked to wear an awful lot of pink. But Kawaii was very intellectual, so if you ever happened to see her reading what looked like a fashion magazine, you should probably take into account that it was a scroll of some sort under henge. Kawaii excelled in the ninjutsu element of water. She was the team's best strategist and taijutsu user. She couldn't do jinjutsu, but was learning from Anko in Kinjutsu, and boy did she pick up skills fast. Sai was well, Sai. If it ever came to it, which it rarely ever did, but if it came to it, Sai, being the emotionless killer he was, would play the part of the betrayer. Once he had supposedly betrayed said team, he would then release them and they would turn on their enemies, but this scenario had only ever happened once, and as far as the team was concerned, once was enough. Same ninjutsu element was fire. This however did not come as surprise when Kawaii described the reasoning. Guys, shut the fuck up and think. Sai excels at drawing, right? Why? Because of all his stored up emotions, it would only make sense that fire, being the most passionate element of all, would go to Sai. Because he stores up his emotions, he has got to have a hell of a lot of passion and anger stored in him. Sai was the team's all-rounder. He didn't lack in ninjutsu, taijutsu, jinjutsu, and his kinjutsu was high for his age, but at the expected anbu level. Naruto was the team's fighter, it just came with the stamina. Naruto of course was the best at ninjutsu in the team, this coming from the Kyuubi and other senseis, and also from Kyuubi, always encouraging him to make his own jutsus. Naruto's element was wind, and Naruto had proved his true anbu genius by creating many techniques with his wind element. This was then encouraged even more when legendary perverted San and Jiraiya came to Konoha for a visit. Naruto's wind Rasengan was a known deadly attack. Kakashi had also taught Naruto in Kage Bunshin, and he regularly used them in his taijutsu. His kinjutsu was only slightly better than Lita's, and his jinjutsu was rapidly improving, thanks to Raven. Realizing that they all had different talents and elements, they had formed a team. It was the strongest in Anbu as well as the youngest, one 10-year-old blonde boy, 2 11-year-old girls, and 2 12-year-olds who had grown up in Anbu. They covered each other's weaknesses and improved on them, their strengths were emphasized together, and all this only strengthened their already rock-hard friendship. As a team they were known as the Anbu elements. It was crappy sounding first, but then the old man Hokage had surprised them by giving them a scroll which had previously belonged to the Yondaime, who was famous for his seals. The team knew about the Kyuubi. In the scroll they had the element seal, along with other element jutsus. So when the Anbu element team had been sent on its first mission, their opponent learnt the hard way not to mess. Simply put, he got his ass kicked element style. Naruto looked at the picture again and laughed silently. They all looked so natural. They were all sheltering from the rain underneath a tree which Lita had grown. Up in the branches sat a girl, with raven hair that came down to her hips, with what would usually be her bangs and fringe tied in a bun, which was held with a raven feather, while the rest was loose, except for one of her bangs which refused to stay put and framed her face beautifully. Her skin was lightly tanned, and her eyes were gazing somewhere into the distance. Her eyes were a dark shade of purple. Matching her eyes was her outfit. She wore a black dress that draped on the arms and ended in a black feathery tutu, and on top a dark purple bodice with black lace. The girl was surrounded by ravens, one perched on her shoulder, and she looked in deep thought. Raven. Leaning against the tree trunk at a side angle was a very tanned girl, with wavy brunette hair which came to the small of her back. It was tied in a half ponytail. She had brilliant green eyes, which even in the photo you could see they flashed like emeralds. She also wore a light green dress, which on her lithe figure looked graceful and flowy. She seemed to be on full alert, with a small smile on her rosy lips. Lita. Sat on one of the roots was a blonde with wavy hair that ended at her shoulders. It was kept out of her eyes with a small Alice band. Her eyes were a rare color and were a bright and vibrant pink. She also had a peachy complexion. She wore fingerless pink silk gloves which ended at the elbow, a white dress and pink leggings. She looked very similar to Barbie. But despite her image she was engrossed in a rather thick novel, with a lip gloss covered lips in a pout and her brow furrowed in concentration. Kawaii. Stood just in the cover of the tree and sweating were two boys in a spar. One had raven locks which ended at his jawline. He had dark eyes and a pale complexion, though he was clearly out of breath. His face showed no emotion. The boy was wearing normal Anbu gear, except on a much smaller scale. Strapped to his back was a long black katana, which it seemed he was starting to unsheath for the spar. Sigh. The other boy was a blonde with messy hair, which seemed out of control. He had sparkling blue eyes which clearly showed his excitement and joy at the spar. The boy was wearing eye-gouging orange shorts and a black t-shirt. He looked a bit like Halloween. The boy was standing in a taijutsu fighting stance, heavily breathing and prepared for his opponent's next attack. Me. The wind element of Anbu elements, number 1 ninja of Konoha and one-day Hokage. Databeo. Aren't you getting a bit ahead of yourself there, kid? Hokages are wise, and you're impulsive, Gaki, said a voice suddenly in Naruto's head. I was wondering when you would wake up, Kyuubi. Do you know what day it is today? Halloween. Arg. No. What made you say that? Do facts, kid 1, you dress like it's Halloween too. It's October. Baka. It's my birthday. 10th of October. My birthday. Today I'm 10, you uncaring baka of a fox. Oh. You mean I've been stuck in here for 10 years already? Dang. Why you selfish fox? It's always about you. Never mind, I'm double digits. Oh, don't tell me you're gonna sulk. Damn right I am. Naruto finished blocking out Kyuubi. And with that final note the blonde-haired ninja got up and dressed. DBC. Chapter 2. Party and Separation, written by June X. Naruto was so excited it was his birthday and there were so many things to do. Naruto's birthday list. Spar with Sai, surprise Raven by creeping up on her, then glump her, prank the Hokage with Kawaii, force Lita to throw me a party for this evening, Nick Anko's trench coat for the hell of it. Burn Kakashi's Icha Paradise collection. Attack. Genma with his toothpick put a bag over Yamato's head. Stupid Gula eyes boring Naraji Ino convince Nina Hyuga that her destiny revolves around me. Attend the Anbu party. Yep, it was going to be a long day, and hell, Naruto was going to love it. First thing first, attack emotionless booger Sai. Oh Sai, come to Naruto, Naruto sweetly called out. Somewhere in the Anbu training ground Sai shivered, that tone was never good. Clang. Just in time Sai had blocked a kunai aimed for his head. Impressive Sai, your reaction was fast, your katana wielding has gotten a lot faster. Said Naruto jumping down from a tree. Yeah well, I couldn't let you get ahead of me. I'm glad to see now that all my extra training with Yamashiro-sensei is paying off. Sai replied with a smirk. Aoba Yamashiro had been a friend of Raven's. Similar to Raven, he used crows in his attack, and for tracking, he often helped Raven train her ravens. Anyways, when the Anbu element team found out Sei Fire Affinity, Raven had recommended Aoba-sen for his sensei. You see, not many people knew as many fire techniques as the team would have liked. They had really been the Uchiha's clan speciality, but Aoba-sen knew a wide range of fire techniques and had ended up becoming Sei's own individual trainer. And with this in mind both boys went for an all-out training spar. Sai quickly ran forward, katana ready, and aimed at Naruto's arm in hope of disabling it. Seeing this, Naruto flipped over him, landed behind him and kicked him in the back. Quickly regaining his balance, Sai turned round and stood ready in a stance, katana still drawn. Naruto flipped back and quickly performed a mass shadow clone jutsu to keep Sai busy, and with that jumped into the trees. Sai had just finished the last of the clones off and looked around, no Naruto, and then he heard it. It started off as a low rumbling, and then it got louder. All of a sudden the earth was ripped apart from beneath his feet, a storm was gathering in the sky, and lightning and thunder was everywhere. Sai was barely able to keep himself on the ground when the hurricane appeared. He used a lot of chakra keeping himself still, and then he was in the eye of the hurricane, and the earth stopped shaking. The hurricane then vanished. Within a second there was water everywhere. He was almost drowning as whirlpools kept pulling him under. The ground was rising into a point, and the water went as quickly as it came, and with that the pointed mound erupted, magma oozing everywhere. Sai jumped and barely avoiding it, landing on a tree which not long after caught fire. In a matter of seconds Sai was surrounded by fire, and then that also flickered then went. Out of breath and losing chakra fast due to the constant change of surroundings, Sai was barely ready for the strong gale which followed next, and this time it came with hail and a sandstorm, being forced back and down by the batterings from the brutal wind. Sai was really fed up when a blizzard started. He couldn't see anything. He hadn't had a moment to perform a hand seals or a counter-attack. He just needed an opportunity, but by now Sai was beginning to freeze, and so was his surroundings. Everything was covered in ice. Sai looked down at his feet, they also were freezing, and the ice was slowly creeping up his legs. In a moment he'd be immobile. He needed to do something and quick. Kai. Sai yelled, barely releasing the Jinjutsu in time, and with that Sai collapsed to his knees low on chakra and mentally exhausted. What the hell was that? Sai quizzed. That would be my new Jinjutsu. Natural disasters. Said Naruto from behind him. Sai span round and began to form hand seals. Brand fireball jutsu. Naruto dodged a fireball and aimed 3 shuriken at him. Mass shuriken replication. Sai barely dodged the thousands of spinning stars that came flying at him. You missed me, came the mocking remark from Sai. Not quite, and with that Naruto made a hand movement as if he was grabbing something and jerked his arm backwards as if he was pulling something. Sai saw the chakra strings attached to the shuriken too late. Covered in cuts and barely standing on his feet, Sai pulled out all the stops. Elemental style. Passionate flames. Sai yelled using his very own team jutsu, barely making it out of the overpowering flames. Naruto appeared covered in burns. Tired, Naruto aimed a kunai at Sai, which landed miserably at his feet and then exploded. Thrown back and lying on his back, Sai was weak and semi-unconscious, but he still felt the kunai pressed against his neck. You lose? Came the whisper in his ear. After fully recovering from their spar, Sai decided he was a sore loser. I only lost because I didn't use any of my ink jutsus. Well, you should be more trained in your elemental jutsu anyway. You didn't use your element though. If I specialize in one area I'll become weak. You know I need to train all my other skills against you, Sai. Naruto whined. Whatever, ridiculous. What did you say to me? You big fat loser. Nothing. Naru-chan. I am not a girl. Naruto screamed. Well, you sound like one. See ya, Naru-chan. And with that Sai ran off, leaving Naruto to throw his tantrum. In a tree close to the Ambu HQ, thousands of ravens were squawking and flapping around a girl. Raven was sat on a top branch in a full-blown mind link with her ravens. It was like their council, all of them were trying to give her their information that they had gathered on Konoha for the past month. It was giving her a headache. Okay, talk one at a time. First let's start with the Hokage. The old man has been doing the usual supplying missions and so on and so forth, but recently he has had that academy teacher Iruka-sen in. They were discussing a new student. A new student, he'd be joining the academy late in the year, must be a newcomer. Ravens who watch the gate, have any of you seen this newcomer? Raven-sama, I regret to tell you nobody has come to Konoha for 3 months as a newcomer. The last newcomer entered at the southern gate over a year ago. He died 6 months ago. Strange, I wonder who would join the academy this late. Is there any other news of importance or interest? No, came the reply, and with that the ravens took off, that is except for 2. Raven-sama. HMN. Do not overthink this, I know what direction you're thinking in. What if I'm right, the other 4 members of the team aren't officially genin yet? It could be them. Wrong, Raven-sama. Lita is an official genin of Itakuger, and Kawei is an official hunter nin for Kurigakure. That only leaves Naruto and Sai, and if I remember correctly the informant only said 1 new student. The Hokage would have to be crazy to split you guys up. I guess. Oh, and don't look now, but Naruto's trying to surprise you again. Thanks. And with that Raven reached out behind and grabbed the hand that was about to surprise her and flipped the owner over her head. Naruto landed on his back with an sound. Raven then gracefully jumped out the tree and landed by Naruto's head. Morning sunshine, so how does it feel to be 10? And with that Naruto tackled her down with a hug. Oh. You remembered, Ray, and Naruto's nickname for Raven, it's pronounced Rai, which is like a play on words, because Rai in Japanese means lightning, and Raven is a lightning mistress. You're the best mate in the entire world. What do you mean I remembered? Of course I did. You haven't shut up about it for the past week. Well, Sai never said nothing, Naruto mumbled. Well, that's I and this is me. Now then, my little Naru-chan, shouldn't you be pestering someone for a birthday bash? And oh, before I forget, if you pull any pranks today, they cannot be major ones, okay? Do you hear me, Naruto? It's been a decade since the Kyuubi attacked. Now I know this is delicate for you, Naru-chan, and it's not your fault your birthday is on the same day, but some people are in mourning, and I'm sure Kyuubi agrees with me on this one, but you need to show a little bit of respect. Naru-chan. I am so limiting your time with Sai. What? You kept calling me Naru-chan. And I am not a girl. Yeah, well, it's cute and Sai's right, it suits you. Now then, what does Kyuubi say? I don't know. Then ask him. I would, but I'm not talking to him right now. Raven sighed. Why not? Because he was being selfish. He didn't give a damn that it was my birthday. This day is about me too. 1. Naruto, you've got to stop being so sensitive too. As I said before, you have to be tolerant of others today. Most people are only thinking of the Kyuubi. 3. Today is about you, so go pester someone for a birthday bash. Okay. Oh, and before I forget, I used the new genjutsu you taught me on Sai. How'd it go? He lost. Take it badly. Yep. Said Naruto with a grin. And with that, Raven laughed and Naruto set off for what was next on his agenda. Well, what? Any ideas? Raven said nothing major, right? Yep. Well, does that include hanging the honorable grandson from Hokage Mountain? Considering that's such a good idea, no, I don't think so. And that is how Konohamaru was found hanging off the third's nose. Kawaii and Naruto celebrated their grand prank at Ichiraku's for breakfast. Now, 2 things you should know is that, as written before, Kawaii is a genius, but like Naruto, she often uses her strategy skills in pranks. The other thing is that Naruto, when not at Anbu HQ, is a completely different person. Naruto never forgot what happened to him when he was 4, he never forgot the reason he was brought to Anbu HQ, the place he now considers home. Naruto doesn't trust the villagers and for a long time wouldn't leave Anbu HQ at all, so one day Kakashi gave him a gift. Kakashi and Naruto were very much like a father and son, so Kakashi had realized Naruto's wariness of the villagers. Kakashi's gift was none other than a black mask, exactly like his own. So whenever Naruto went out, he'd wear the mask as his protection. Naruto was always cold and untrustworthy of the villagers. Lida. Came the shout from the hyperactive blonde. Lida gave a sigh. Why me? Why is it always me who has to throw the party? Lida? Yes, Naruto, can you throw me a party this evening? Why me? Why not any of the others? Because you're the most responsible. Raven's our leader, surely she's the most responsible. She'd make it all black, grim and miserable. Kawaii. I am not having my party pink. Sai. Does he even know how to throw a party? And anyway, everyone knows you're the best at throwing parties, Lida. Lida sighed, I guess so. Thanks, Lida, you're my favorite nymph. Naruto declared. That would be because I'm the only nymph you know. With that, Naruto hugged Lida and ran out the room. The beautiful earth nymph was left with a small smile on her rosy lips. Naruto was whooping for joy. Who would have guessed his 2 favorite senseis would be such easy targets? Anko had been in the shower when Naruto had crept in, and there on the back of the door was the infamous trench coat. Naruto had quickly unhooked it and ran out the room. Next were Kakashi's books. When Naruto had entered Kakashi's room, he hadn't expected him to be out and have left his books behind, but it just made the job so much easier. The poor perverted books never stood a chance against Naruto's fireball jutsu, which he had forced Sai to teach to him. And just before he left, Naruto had to add the final touch by leaving Anko's coat in the pervert's room. Anko was furious and screaming in frustration. Where was her coat? Kakashi was distraught and in mourning. His poor beloved books. Gone. And then he spotted at the coat. Anko. Yes, it had to be Anko. She always had a thing against perverts. Grabbing the coat, Kakashi stormed out his room, only to walk straight into his suspect. My coat. Anko shrieked, you fucking pervert. Anko yelled, grabbing the coat and putting on quickly. Oh. So you admit you have a thing against perverts? Well, I don't see anything wrong with a bit of indecency here and there. Kakashi unwisely yelled back. By now Anko was steaming and so continued to beat Kakashi senseless, to the complete entertainment of the Anbu element team and Naruto, who was rolling around on the floor crying tears of laughter. Genma was tired, he had just come back from a week-long mission and hadn't slept for 5 days. But his rest was not to be, for at that moment a blonde blur rushed at him, yanked his Senbon needle out of his mouth and proceeded to give him the 1,000 years of pain move, accompanied with the Senbon needle. Genma was going to be limping for quite a while, he decided. Naruto found Yamato sleeping. Like taking candy from a baby. You're so immature. Hey. I'm not talking to you. See what I mean? Would you shut up for a second? I need to concentrate so I can put this bag over his head already. Does the bag have holes? No, why? Because he'll suffocate otherwise. Oh, Aka, and before you return the insult just remember, I just stopped you committing a murder. Naruto never did put the bag over Yamato's head thanks to Kyuubi's observation. So have you been enjoying the little show of pranks? Yes, actually I have. I was wondering how these 10 years had gone past so quickly, but after those pranks I realized I could never got bored in your mind. Gino, what? Nothing, the sigh so troublesome. Gino, what? Nothing, the sigh so troublesome. Gino, what? Nothing, the sigh so troublesome. How much more do you think he can take? Try another 3 times. I still don't get this plan. If I was Gino I'd get pissed off not bored. Trust me, and anyway it's been all you for the past couple of pranks. My turn. And you call me immature childish fox. At least I'm not the greedy vessel, Kyuubi replied, mentally sticking his tongue out. I'm going to pretend that I didn't hear that, and for my own sanity please I beg of you don't ever stick your tongue out again. Do you know how demented and bloodthirsty you looked? Just play the prank, kid. Gino, what? Nothing, the sigh so troublesome. Gino, what? Nothing, the sigh so troublesome. Gino, MMN, nothing. Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z. Wah. Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z. Lazy genius, hold on a sec. He's asleep. I bored the Nara, I bored the Nara, I bored the Nara. Naruto sang this over and over again accompanied by a victory dance until about half an hour later when he was showing no signs of stopping anytime soon a certain kitsune got involved. The Hyuga was sat in a library looking out a window. Nina was a very different Hyuga and she originated from the branch family but was in no way loyal to the head family. She was unruly and considered herself to be Naruto's mother figure. She had long blonde hair which she kept in a bun and the Hyuga eyes. Her skin was pale and because she always looked tired many people thought she was ill. Actually it was quite to the contrary. She was exhausted from too much exercising. It was hard trying to keep Naruto in control, today of all days. First Nina had to split up Kakashi and Anko and then heal Kakashi and then scold him for being a possible bad influence on her son. Then she and Kakashi had a visit from Sandame about his grandson who woke up this morning hanging off Hokage Tower. Nina had then set off in search of Naruto, a lecture prepared. Kakashi had been the one who had found Genma, he had then brought the poor man in limping. But Nina's trail had run cold at Gino Nara, who it seemed had been bored to sleep, which even she had to admit was an amazing feat for the blonde boy, considering how Naras could usually withstand the most mundane of things. Nina was dragged out of her dream world when the door behind her opened and in stepped the boy who consumed her thoughts. Naruto. She scolded. What? Don't what me? You have been playing pranks all day and today is not the day for them. At this Naruto grew angry. What's that supposed to mean? Today is my birthday. And like it or not I will celebrate it how I want to. Naruto, you just can't, not today. What I'm doing as Raven advised, I'm not pulling any major pranks and I've only pulled them here in the Ambu HQ. Naruto, today just can't be a happy day. I'm really trying to be tolerant and considerate of others today, really I am. Please Aka-san, don't be mad. Nina couldn't say no to that pleading tone and puppy dog eyes. Especially when he called her Aka-san. Fine, but I have to go now, places to be, and then I need to get ready. But always remember my destiny revolves around you. Okay, see you at the party. Naruto, there's something I need to. Well, what I'm trying to say is that it's been a decade since Kyuubi attacked and well it's compulsory that all Konohinin attend a gathering in remembrance of that. So? Well, what I'm trying to say is I can't come to your party, no one can. At these words, Naruto ran off crying, tears freely streaming down his face. Knock, knock, go away. Naruto, let us in now. No. Bam! Raven kicked open the door and walked in, closely followed by Sai, Kawaii and Lita. I said go away. And we say we don't care. Kawaii replied, shutting the door. No one can come to the party. I'm allowed to feel upset, so would you leave already? Naruto, do you think I would have set up the party if no one could come? No, I wouldn't. Kawaii and I aren't officially Konohinin, so we'll be there. Sai will be there because he never leaves the Anbu HQ, stated Lita. And I'll be there because you're my best friend and nothing anyone says is going to make me miss your 10th birthday party. Not after all we've been through together. Added Raven. Anyway, Neru-chan, it's not like anybody wants to miss the party and they most certainly didn't forget you. Put in Sai. Yeah, Naruto, come downstairs and see your massive hall of presents. All the girls chimed. Please, Kami-sama, tell me you did not practice that. Practice what? They chimed again. The chiming. Both boys chimed. It seems to be catching, laughed Kyuubi. Shut up, furball. Secretly Naruto had to admit he had gotten an excellent haul of presents. Kakashi had given him an awesome new set of clothes, black combats, long orange sleeve tops covered with a black short sleeve denim jacket. The combats were really baggy with tons of pockets for storing his weapons. Nina had given him a new set of weights, which he had immediately strapped on. He was now wearing 200 pounds, 50 on each limb. Anko had given him some weapon shooters. They were slim black bracelets that could easily be worn, all you did was load them with shuriken stars, kunai, and senbon needles, anything of your choice. Gino had given him a Raymond-shaped alarm clock. Yamato's present was the brand new updated bingo book. Jiraiya's present had been sent in the mail. It was a beautiful black katana with a white dragon on the sheath. Jiraiya had it custom made on his travels. The Hokage's present was a new wind element scroll. But the best presents were yet to come, the presents from his friends. Lita was first. Her present was a beautiful red fox she had found. Naruto was quick to name him Kyuubi, and Naruto thanked Lita with a huge hug. Earth nymphs were great at presents. Hawaii was next, and typically she gave him a book, but not just any book. This book was 8,000 great pranks and how to make your own prank tips. That book was going to be a lot of fun and very handy. Sai's present was another of his masterpieces. This time the drawing was of Naruto making a Rasengan. Naruto's eyes were displaying all kinds of emotions, and he looked so natural, so breathtaking. Came the murmur from Lita. "Oh, fuck. Naruto looks gorgeous. Sai, you're not gay, are you?" Came Kawai's response. "Naruto, you actually look like a girl," was all that Raven managed. "Thank you, Sai, that's beautiful." "Thank Naruto. Glad you like it, Naru-chan." And with that the party continued. They first had a food fight, then out came the alcohol. When they were tipsy enough they played truth or dare. Sai admitted he thought Anko was hot. Naruto stripped to his boxers. Kawai did a chicken dance while singing Badger Mushroom Song. Lita tried to break dance, and Raven sang Britney Spears' Oops I Did It Again. They ended with a team dare where they made a concoction of vinegar, ice cream, coke, crisps, peanuts, popcorn, cakes, mints, marshmallows, and a small bit of vodka. They poured it into 5 glasses, then all chugged it. It was disgusting. While Lita, Sai and Kawai were moaning on the floor in disgust, Raven dragged Naruto aside to give him his present. She summoned a raven's feather, which glowed eerily with her dark purple chakra. "Naruto, roll up your sleeve and show me your forearm." Naruto did so. Raven began to draw lightning-shaped seals with the feather, and in the middle, a basic drawing of a raven. Raven cut her thumb and put it on the seal. It pulsed with purple chakra. "That, Naruto, is my gift to you. It is a summoning seal, and if you're ever in trouble and need me, put blood on that seal, and I will be summoned to you. I know it's a bizarre gift, but trust me, Naruto, I get the strong feeling we'll be separated from each other soon." Naruto was left speechless. He knew the importance of this gift. It bound him and Raven together forever. All of a sudden their party was interrupted when a fellow Anbu appeared in a puff of smoke. Okage-sama would like to see Anbu elements in his office immediately. He stated before disappearing. "Elemental style. Lightning transportation." Raven yelled. In a flash of black lightning the Anbu element team stood in the Hokage's office. "Anbu elements, please it." "Okage-sama, if this is about the festival," Kawai began. No, not the festival. This, my dears, is about you. You see, I think it is time for a change. I need to know that Konoha has a good future with its strongest nins, and so in this favor, I'm afraid I have no other choice but to disband the Anbu elements team. DBC. Chapter 3. Academic Improvement, written by June X. In a flash of black lightning the Anbu element team stood in the Hokage's office. "Anbu elements, please it." "Okage-sama, if this is about the festival," Kawai began. No, not the festival. This, my dears, is about you. You see, I think it is time for a change. I need to know that Konoha has a good future with its strongest nins, and so in this favor, I'm afraid I have no other choice but to disband the Anbu elements team. Raven sighed, so I was right. "What do you mean, Hokage-sama?" quizzed Lito, obviously shocked. "I feel that it is in Konoha's best interest that you undergo some new training." "Training? Thank Kami-sama. I thought we were going to be split up, especially after what Raven said to me." "Yes. Training, I can't wait, I love team training." Naruto shouted. Lita, Kawai and Sai gave a small smile at his hyperactiveness. Raven just shook her head, they were so obviously not getting it. Please excuse me, I don't seem to be making myself clear, this will be separate training." Naruto's face instantly fell. Lita's eyes started to water. Kawai was shaking with anger. Only Sai and Raven seemed unaffected by the news, Sai from being emotionless, but the Hokage was wary of Raven. He was pretty sure she wasn't just going to let this go. "Okage-sama, please, continue." Now the Hokage was really surprised. She seemed to be perfectly calm. "Well, as of next week, Naruto will be enrolling in the Ninja Academy. A week after Kawai, Lita and Raven will go on a team training mission. They will be gone for 2 years. Sai will of course stay in Konoha and Anbu HQ. But will be leaving Konoha on more long-term missions with his new sensei Yamato." Then he felt strong killer intent. Here came Raven's reaction. Maybe he should have thought this through more clearly before facing the sadistic girl. The others though were just sat there in shock. So what you're trying to say is you're going to unfairly split us up, you're going to keep 3 of us together, but leave the other 2 alone, one stays in familiar surroundings, the other is ditched into a completely new world with new people, somehow I found that not fair. So as team leader, I will decline your offer as I personally do not find it in my team's interest, Raven stated with all the venom and killer intent she could manage, without castrating him where he stood. It was not an offer Raven, it was an order. The Hokage calmly replied, but that was it. Kawaii had reached the end of her tether. How fucking dare you? How about our best interest? Not the villages. Ours. Everything you cages do for your village's sake results in some poor kid taking the punishment. It was in Konoha's interest. Raven was on the team with the Uchihas, she ended up in a mental fucking coma for Kami-sama's sake. It was in Konoha's interest. Kyuubi was sealed in Naruto, and ever since he has been treated as an outcast and has been under assassination attempts too many times to count. It was in Konoha's best interest that Sai joined Root, now he's emotionless and can't communicate socially. My father the fucking Mizukage decided it was in Kurigakure's best interest that I became a hunter nin with Haku, he ran away, I was almost killed by missing nins Abusa Mamachi, and I too ran away. Orochimaru decided that it was in his future village, best interest, that they kidnapped an earth nymph, now Lita's forest lies in ruins, and she can't return home, she was also forced to be a slave to the snake Sannin who just happens to be your student, and that has traumatized her. Do you not see a pattern appearing? We will not suffer again, for a village's best interest. Aoi just stood there and let the tears fall down her cheeks showing her emotions fully, but she couldn't care less at the moment. I hate this so much, I hate the way the cages make these decisions and control our lives, my father and Aniki caused me nothing but pain. I will not suffer like that again, and I will die defending my friends from that pain. Against his will the Hokage had to admit Kawaii had made some extremely valid points, but that was to be expected from her. I am sorry you feel like that, but please, give me a chance to explain why I think this will also be in your best interest. Konoha needs strong nin to protect, this new training I hope will make you stronger and better ninja, and I'm sure you would like to improve. Therefore both Konoha and you get something out of this. Kawaii and Raven sat down, none of them said anything, and so the Hokage took this as a sign to continue. As Kawaii pointed out, some terrible decisions have been made involving you, and for that I'm truly sorry, but I assure you, I have thought about this long and hard so you get the best. Naruto will unfortunately be sent to the academy alone, I would send you with him, but unlike Naruto you 4 are all official ninjas. I also think it is time Naruto left the safety of Ambu HQ and ventured out a bit more, being around kids your own age will hopefully give you the chance to make friends and regain trust in the villagers. Kawaii, Lita and Raven, you have all grown immensely in this village, but we all know you still have a lot of potential, Konoha is only holding you back. I feel that if you were to go traveling for a long period of time, not only would it strengthen your friendships, but you would learn from different senseis and learn new jutsu styles altogether. For the next 2 years, there will be no limit on what you can do. I would send Sai with you, but I fear the change of surroundings for such a long time will make him even more unsociable. Sai, I want you to stay under Yamato's guidance, he is a good teacher, and you will learn new things with him, but I also want you to travel, but come back regularly so you too have a chance to learn new things, but don't feel too out of place, hopefully traveling around will also lead to you discovering some more fire techniques. As much as they hated to admit it, what the Hokage had said made a lot of sense, but it still didn't change the loneliness they felt in their hearts, they were inseparable, sure, they hadn't been together more than a year, but it didn't mean they weren't incredibly close. They knew everything about each other and were forever smiling in each other's company, but they couldn't smile those true smiles around that many other people. There were a select few the group trusted, but they mainly trusted and relied on the group. To be split up was like having your parachute taken away when you were skydiving, you felt like you were falling into a deep, deep pit of despair. With nothing else to say, the group left Hokage Tower with a dark cloud above their heads. The Hokage side really wished they didn't take this so hard, but they couldn't stay in Ambu forever, and he really did think it was time for a change, and he was quite sure this wouldn't last forever. After all, even Itachi hadn't managed to find a way to keep Raven and Naruto apart. The team's friendship was strong, and he was definite it could survive this split. Naruto lay in bed going over the meeting in his head, this all seemed surreal, like a terrible dream. He just wanted to wake up and hear Raven's voice telling the team off for something, hear Kawaii continuously sighing then giving an evil snicker as she came up with yet another evil genius plan, hear Sai calling him Naru-chan, and to hear Lita's voice singing yet another song in dedication to the earth that she loved so much. With a sigh he climbed out of bed, he was not going to sleep tonight. He just needed to think, gain some normalcy back into his life, so he headed to his favorite place, Lita's tree as they sometimes called it. It was the same tree in the photo on his bedside table, and it was the team's favorite place to go when they needed to think. It was their private place filled with their own elemental peace. As Naruto got closer to the tree he could just see in the moonlight 4 figures already there, he should have known, it would be an unspoken agreement to meet there and think things over. Trust you to be the last one here Naruto-chan, Naruto just gave a small weak smile. He also climbed into the tree's branches and sat there among the others, just staring into the night sky. What are we going to do? Kawaii finally managed, for once she was lost without a plan or an idea, and this was unfamiliar territory to her. What can we do? Came Say's reply. We do as the Hokage says, we undergo new training. Came Raven's strong voice. But Ray. No buts Naruto, we have to do this. We can't stay in Ambu forever, and our lives can't remain perfect, we have to cope with this will make us stronger, and there is no way they will be able to keep us apart. 2 years. That's it, no more, no less. After 2 years we'll be Anbu elements again, inseparable best friends. Got it? Came Raven's command. Got it? Came the chime, and slowly they felt more comfortable at knowing it wasn't forever. And so Lita began to hum one of her lullabies, but this time it wasn't dedicated to the earth, but to them, her friends. What I thought wasn't Minane the light was a one-of-a-kind a precious pearl. When I wanted to creak couldn't cause I wasn't allowed. Amenasai for everything Amenasai, I know I let you down Amenasai till the end never needed a friend like I do now. What I thought wasn't also innocent was a delicate doll of porcelain when I wanted to call you and ask you for help he stopped myself. Amenasai for everything Amenasai, I know I let you down Amenasai till the end never needed a friend like I do now. What I thought was a dream Amiraji was as real as it's Samita privilege. When I wanted to tell Yaoi made a mistake walked away. Amenasai for everything Gamenasai, Gamenasai never needed a friend like I do now. Gamenasai, I let you down Gamenasai till the end never needed a friend like I do now. And with that the group slowly began to fall into a peaceful slumber in each other's company. Nina didn't understand it, she had missed something out and she knew it, she had promised to take Naruto out of Ramen, but he had turned her down, and what was even more surprising was he wasn't training at all, none of the Anbu elements were, they just seemed to be spending non-stop time in each other's company. She had heard from a fellow Anbu member that during Naruto's party, there had been a summoning from Hokage-sama, since then the team had been together. She couldn't get near Naruto because he would just go off with the team, there was only one thing left to do, she would go to the Hokage and find out what was responsible for her son's strange behavior. She walked into the Anbu HQ main lounge to get Kakashi when aforementioned Cage appeared in a puff of smoke. Ah, hello Nina. Hokage-sama, I was just on my way to see you. Yes, I expected that, would you be as kind as to gather all of the Anbu together with the exception of Anbu elements, I think you have the right to know the current predicament. Hi, Hokage-sama. Within 10 minutes all 35 members of Anbu stood or were sitting in the main lounge. Seeing that all were gathered the Hokage stood up to tell them the news. Ahem, now as I'm sure you have all gathered, there have been some strange occurrences amongst the Anbu Elements team, I'm sure you're all curious as to what has happened, but I will be straightforward, they need space and time, in 3 days time I am going to enforce a drastic change upon the 5, they will need you there to support them more than ever. Now everyone was curious, just what was this change? I believe it to be in theirs and Konoha's best interests that Anbu Element team is disbanded. Nina fell off her chair in shock, Anko swore profusely, Yamato pulled a face that would scare Naruto, Kakashi dropped his Icha paradise, and even Gino was now wide awake. Sure shinobi teams were disbanded all the time, but that was if there was a fault with the team, the Anbu Element team was one of the best combinations of shinobi in the Anbu, their teamwork was flawless, and they could only get stronger from here on in, why separate such a good team? Finally gathering her wits about her Nina asked the question in everybody's minds. Why? I believe that the change is necessary and that all 5 will benefit from the experience and grow stronger, Konoha itself will benefit from strong shinobi. Now I'm sure you are also curious into how they will be split up, Yamato if you will consent, I have chosen you to be sensei, you will be on long traveling trips, but will return to Konoha regularly, in which Sai will gain new experiences and you will encourage him to work on his social skills. Many were jealous of Yamato for receiving such a talented student, but all Yamato did was nod and consent. Raven, Kawaii and Lita will be doing the same, but they will be gone for a much longer period of time, they leave in 10 days time and will be gone for 2 years. Nina spluttered at the unfairness of the situation, to keep 3 together but completely separate the other 2. No wonder they've all been reluctant to leave each other's company. Naruto though will be staying in Konoha, but will actually be within the village and attending the academy. At this Kakashi stood up, blatantly furious. Hokage-sama, you can't be serious. We took him away from that for a reason. Many others nodded their heads in agreement with Kakashi's outburst. Kakashi, please, calm yourself. The boy, as you all know, is Yondame's legacy, but instead is treated with disrespect. As much as I hate to return him to the villagers' incapable hands, I think Naruto has to make some new friends and learn to love the village he fights so hard to protect. Else I fear one day Naruto will question what he protects and then we could lose him, just like we did Itachi. But I am very reluctant to let past incidents reoccur. I need people who can appear in Naruto's daily life. Do I have any volunteers? Nina stood up. If it is okay with you Hokage-sama, I would like to return to the village. I would also like for Naruto-kun to live with me. The Hokage gave a smile and a nod in answer to Nina's request. Kakashi then stood with his orange book. I'm leaving the Anbu anyway. I don't see any reason why I can't check up on an ex-student every now and then. Anko soon followed. Digi, I won't lose a student that easily. That Gaki is one of my favorite lab rats. I'll leave the Anbu and check up on him on the condition I continue to train him. Anko, I fear you are more a danger to him than the villagers at times. At this Anko only gave a sadistic laugh. Gino stood up. Hokage-sama, well I have no wish to leave Anbu and therefore cannot check up on him regularly, but I do have a nephew his age who attends the academy. I'm sure he can keep an eye on him for me and he would be a good friend for Naruto. Arigato, all of you. It relieves me to know Naruto will be in safe capable hands. You will return to Konoha tomorrow, so you have a chance to settle in. I hope this has cleared things up for you. And on that note I must leave, Jana. And the Hokage disappeared in a puff of smoke. Naruto looked at his new home. It was a small bungalow on the outskirts of Konoha. It was a traditional Japanese house, from the design, to the gardens and to the training grounds outside. Naruto was extremely grateful to the old man for providing him with his own personal training grounds. Naruto was to start in the academy the day after tomorrow, and he was not looking forward to it one bit. The academy would only slow him down. He knew all the childish techniques they taught there. His senseis had made sure he had perfect chakra manipulation and kawaii, and the all-knowledgeable furball had made sure he didn't lack in any academic areas. He really didn't understand why he had to go to the academy with a bunch of snot-nosed gakas. Look who's talking. Shut up Kyuubi, you and I both know this is a waste of time. I know kid, you shouldn't take this so hard. Just think of this as a test of the team's friendship. I guess anyway they'll be around in a bit the team, Kakashi, Anko, Yamato and Gino. They'll be around for a housewarming dinner. Then straight afterwards, I'm going to show them the training grounds and then we can have an all-out spar. I feel sorry for the training grounds. Why? Because there'll be nothing left by the time you lot are through with it. Very funny Fox, do you have anything I can do to pass the time? I've already moved my stuff into my new room. As a matter of fact I have a new technique I want you to try. You'll need to use my chakra for this. First concentrate the chakra into your hands until you grow nails and then I want you to start slashing at a tree, see how many slashes you can do before you lose the claws. Okay, what kind of technique is this? It's a new kind of taijutsu, using demonic claws, it's close range though, so you need to be good at aiming. Get Nina to teach you her best to hit the body with this kind of style, I call it demonic precision. Interesting name, I really need to find something for you to do in there, you have way too much free time to think. And so Naruto began slashing at the tree. He was quite enjoying himself as it was a good way of releasing anger. He managed to keep the claws for 72 slashes. Disappointed with his performance, he pushed more chakra into the claws, this time with an aim of making at least 200 slashes. Training with Kyuubi Sunshine. Said a voice out of the tree. Hi Ray, he's teaching me a new taijutsu style he calls demonic precision. Sounds cool, nice training grounds you got here, nowhere near as good as the ones in Ambu HQ. But good nonetheless. She said jumping out of the tree. It was then Naruto noticed her new set of weights. New weights Ray? Yeah, 100 pounds on each limb. I'm going to do some laps to warm up, want to join? You can go back to slashing later and then the team can join. Sounds like an awesome idea, but let's make this a bit more competitive, a little race, loser buys the winner ramen for dinner tomorrow night. Fine with me, just as long as you know, you have no chance of beating my lightning speed. Naruto stretched out his aching limbs. He had been up all night sparring and training. Ray had of course won the race, even with her new weights she was still incredibly fast and he shuddered at the thought of her speed without them. They had then gone inside for dinner. Surprisingly Kakashi was on time, so the meal passed without any incident. The team had then followed Naruto out into the training grounds after another warm-up race which Ray yet again won. They started an all-out spar, while the older ninjas just stood by watching. Raven and Sai had been quick to take out Lita from behind, with Sai first encircling her with fire, so she had no way to escape, and then Raven blasting her with lightning blast from above. Kawaii and Sai had then gone into a close combat battle, Kawaii overpowering him with her strong taijutsu and kinjutsu. Raven had used the opportunity to hide in the trees to avoid Naruto and Kawaii ganging up on her. Naruto was rapidly using up chakra, knowing he could not out-strategize Kawaii. He had aimed to overpower her, then just as she put her guards down, Raven caught Kawaii in her powerful Raven Feather Genjutsu, quickly knocking Kawaii out of the fight. Naruto had then decided to put Kyuubi's new taijutsu style to the test, knowing Raven lacked most in close-range combat. Seeing the technique he was going to use, Raven quickly began to enforce her kinjutsu training with Anko. Raven quickly performed hand seals for a jutsu Kakashi had taught her, and she had then adapted Black Chidori sword. The black lightning was shaped like a sword, but made out of chakra. It could be used as a normal sword, or it could be used as a medium for precision lightning blasts. Naruto was quickly beaten through his lack of experience in his new technique, and also the fact that every time his claws had contacted with Raven's sword, he had received a massive electric shock. Raven had once again proved why she was their leader. Naruto was in a really bad mood. Today was his first day at the academy, and Nina expected him to be happy. When he came down looking ultimately depressed, she had first put it down to nerves, but when she tried to cheer him up and he just glared at her, she had realized his bad mood was due to anger and annoyance. Nina had then continued to give him a long lecture on how he needed to give the academy a chance, and that if his mind was one tack, only he wouldn't get anywhere in life. And on she went. By the end of the lecture, Naruto was tempted to whack his head against the table repeatedly. She had most definitely picked up on the Hyuga gene of always knowing best. Naruto put on the clothes Kakashi had bought him for his birthday. They looked good on him, and then at the last moment he put on his mask, just because they were kids and he would be going to school with them, didn't mean he had to trust them, right? Naruto hurried out the door. He was supposed to meet Gino, who would then take him to the Nara household to meet his nephew. Naruto would walk with the boy and the boy's friends on the way to and from school. It just sounded like another annoyance. If he was with them he would be slowed down, HW wouldn't be able to get home quickly and meet the others. Naruto only had to turn the corner before he saw Gino. Gino gave a sigh when he saw Naruto. Naruto, why are you wearing your mask? Simple, no one ever said I had to trust them. This was going to be very troublesome indeed, the Nara decided. Shikamaru gave another sigh. This was so troublesome. From what his uncle described of the boy, he was usually happy-go-lucky and a regular prankster. But the boy who was walking alongside him was cold and white and obviously angry. Shikamaru decided to try and make conversation. My uncle told me you like to pull pranks. Yeah, my friend usually thinks them up and I perform them. They're great laughs, especially when they're on people like the Hokage. You pulled a prank on the Hokage. Yeah, I hung his grandson off Hokage Mountain. Shikamaru gave a small smirk at the idea of that. I also prank your uncle a lot. Like what? Well, I once bored him to sleep. Doesn't sound that hard, I'm forever falling asleep. HMN, yeah, but it's a great feat. To bore someone who is already incredibly boring. I'll have to try it on you sometime to prove my point. Shikamaru gave another smirk. This boy was actually quite talkative, but he still couldn't wait to meet up with Choji and Kiba. They then turned a corner just to see none other than aforementioned boys. Hey Shika. What's with the masked dude? Kiba yelled out as a greeting. Kiba, Choji, this is Naruto. He starts school today. Hey Naruto, I'm Kiba and this is my dog Akamaru. He said, pulling out a dog arf. It barked in greeting. Munch I munch, Choji, munch munch. Naruto just nodded in acknowledgement to both. When Naruto entered the academy classroom he was in a slightly better mood than this morning, having found the three boys to actually be quite good company, but that mood quickly disappeared when everyone in the room turned to stare at the newcomer. Naruto just scowled, nosy brats. He looked around the classroom for a space to sit. He saw two girls fighting over a stool next to a boy. He looked at the boy and for a moment was taken back by his looks, dark hair, dark eyes and pale skin, no doubt about it he was an Uchiha. Naruto scowled even more at that. He hated Uchihas. He remembered Itachi and his cold manner. He also remembered that Itachi put Raven in a mental coma. This would be one boy Naruto refused to get acquainted with. Naruto looked at the two girls fighting over the stool and wondered if he should warn them that Uchihas were nothing but trouble. He was quite surprised to see one girl had pink hair. Kawaii would absolutely adore her if she managed to stop herself cutting it off to use as a wig. Naruto silently chuckled at his friend's evil genius. Naruto instead chose a chair next to boy with a high-collared trench coat and sunglasses. From his clothes choice Naruto deduced he was an Abiram. The class immediately began to settle down when a teacher came in. Aheyo class, today we have a new student called Naruto Uzumaki. Everyone in the class turned round to face Naruto. Naruto sighed and mumbled a slight hi, but loud enough so everyone could hear him. When they did not turn away Naruto took a leaf out of Raven and Anko's book and glared at them all, slowly seeping out strong killer intent. Everyone including the sensei shuddered at the boy's actions. Iruka though managed a weak hi. Naruto, I'm Iruka. I will be your sensei. He quickly turned away from the boy and began the class. Okay, let's see if you all studied your homework. Now then, who can tell me what chakra is? Naruto sighed. This was going to be a long day. June. Yeah, there you go, another chapter, another day. I hope I made Naruto's separation from his team emotional enough. I didn't want to undermine the characters, but I didn't want to overplay them. I just got in the bid at the academy in the end. In the next chapter, more academy, the team is finally split up into cliffhanger. Hit. Yeah, and guys, now the story is really starting to kick in. June really needs those reviews, not just for inspiration, but if anyone has any pairings. Chapter 4. Trust has to be earned, written by June X. Naruto's eyebrow for the third time today was twitching. First it had been from the irritating bickering of two girls over the Uchiha, then girls had tried asking him out, then Kiba being an idiot had asked what was under Naruto's mask, now the girls were squealing with excitement about what was under his mask. Naruto was about to lose it, and what's more he wasn't even sure if his eyebrow would ever stop twitching. Bang, he'd lost it. With all the killing intent he could muster, Naruto let out his warning with a slight hiss. You are in a ninja academy to become kunoichi, not to squeal over guys. So why don't you grow up already? A shinobi won't stop on the battlefield so you can reapply your lip gloss, so why don't you learn how to fight or train instead of begging for dates? That silenced them. Do you actually know how to handle girls? In case you haven't realized, Baka, 3 of my best friends are girls. And I thought kawaii was bad, what have I gotten myself into? And with that the bell rang. Now Naruto was faced with one of the most difficult things a kid ever has to do in any school, where to sit and with who. Naruto glanced around at the choices, a breeding Uchiha, not in this lifetime. 2 girls squealing over the Uchiha, not after finally having gotten rid of the eyebrow twitching. There were also Kiba, Shikamaru and Choji. Kiba's loud and annoying, Shikamaru's boring, and Choji is with him. A girl who was looking over at him and was blushing and trying not to faint. Oh dear Kami, please tell me I don't have fangirls, that's just too much to take. The only boy who looked worth his time was the Abiram. So he went and sat with him. Why do you keep sitting with me? Asked the curious Abiram. Does it matter? Not really, but if you must know it's because you're the only person here who looks worth my time. I thought you were friends with Shikamaru and that. You did walk in with them this morning. Naruto just replied with a shrug. I don't believe it. Shikamaru, look, that git your uncle asked you to try and befriend is totally ignoring us. Just who does he think he is? Kiba ranted when he saw Naruto sit with Shino. So troublesome. I don't know much about him to be honest, but my uncle said he would be really cold at first and that this was all a big change for him, so just give him time, Shikamaru mumbled from half-lidded eyes. Whatever, munch munch sure, munch munch Shikamaru. Came the replies. The Uchiha spared another glance for the new student. That kid's interesting, he actually seems to want to be a ninja, and from what I can tell he has potential. He will never be as good as me of course, but he could become an ally to gaining strength. I don't usually spare the time for this, but I'm sure I'm more interesting than Shino. And from the way he handled the girls earlier he could help me out, though Ino seems to have taken a liking to him. And with this thought process Sasuke stood up and brushed himself off, prepared to make a friend. Ino looked over at the new boy and blushed again. She wasn't the only one who had an interest in him, sure he wasn't her Sasuke-kun, but by flirting with him, she would get Sasuke jealous, and then he would admit undying love for her and crush forehead girl. Ino looked around at the other girls who liked the newcomer, she didn't have any competition, she was surprised at Hinata though, but that didn't matter, Sakura wasn't interested, so Blondie was all hers. Now if only she could figure out why he was hanging out with a loser like Shino. Naruto could not believe his luck, his eyebrow was twitching once again. The Uchiha had actually worked up the nerve to tell Naruto to leave freaky bug boy Shino and come and sit with someone worth his time, and now Naruto was trying to restrain himself from kicking the team's ass, and the Kyuubi was just laughing. At times like this it was frustrating how almost everyone he knew was a sadist, he never got any sympathy. Well, are you going to ditch him or what? This really isn't worth my time. Who the fuck does this asshole think he is? Where are the fangirls? Drag the bastard away already. In case you haven't realized kid, everyone is just watching to see how you handle him. And they're all really interested, so you have my permission to kick his ass, but try not to send him to hospital, Nina will get on your case otherwise. Since when have I needed your permission? Ah well, time to dislodge the stick up this guy's ass. Naruto stood up, looked Sasuke straight in the eye, and said shut the fuck up team. And with that delivered a chakra-enforced punch into the smug bastard's face. Ino gaped, Choji choked, Kiba laughed, Hinata blushed, Shikamaru smirked, and Shino did something un-Shino-like. He stood up, and although no one could see his expression, you could feel the killer intent directed at the boy who was currently sporting a broken nose from Naruto's punch. Shino looked at him radiating bloodlust and simply stated I am not a freaky bug boy. And need Sasuke in the gut. To say Naruto was proud of how the day went would be an understatement, he was currently walking home with Shika, Cho, Kiba and to their surprise Shino. Naruto hadn't been expecting to make friends, but after knocking the Uchiha pride, a respect had been formed for him, the others just watched him with the exception of Shino, you never knew what he was doing. Their thought process was just utter praise for the blonde, he'd walked in scared their sensei, gained a fan club, scared the fan club, got the longest sentence out of Shino in the history of the academy, beat up the Uchiha, and had unwittingly formed a new group of friends. When Naruto turned the corner with not just his nephew but 3 other boys, Ino was in utter shock, but what was more was the obvious respect they held for Naruto, they all seemed to be in awe of him. Naruto finally noticed his presence and looked up, a quick fleeting doubt passed through the boy's features, he then pouted. Ino, what are you doing here? Naruto asked. Yeah uncle, I'd like to know too. His nephew stated standing next to Naruto. Ino sighed, it seemed Naruto had made extremely loyal friends who all respected him, worst thing was he would bet anything Naruto didn't give a damn about them in return. He had to speak to the blonde quick and if that didn't work he'd ask the other volunteers and as his last resort, Raven. Sorry guys, but I need to talk to Naruto, he's late for a family gathering as well. And with that the boys separated leaving Naruto with the elder Nara. Ino sighed, Naruto could be so troublesome. They want to be your friends Naru. I have friends, and unlike those four wannabes my friends are strong, Naruto said with a dark scowl. Ino hit him round the head. Aitai. Nani? Don't what me Naruto, just because they weren't raised in Ambu doesn't mean they aren't skilled, they all have potential. Give them a chance, give the academy a chance. Please Naruto, give Konoha another chance. What would Raven say if she could see her sunshine with this dark a scowl? What would Kawaii say if she saw you treating people with injustice without giving them a chance? What would Sai say if he saw you acting all emotionless? What would Lita say if she saw you holding a grudge instead of taking a path of forgiveness? What would Nina say if you didn't attempt to fight back at the injustice they did to you? What would old Kakashi say if he saw you abandoning new friends? What would Anko say if you didn't give the Hokage a show? Now that you've thought about that, take my words to heart, otherwise the next in line will be Yamato, and he will scare you. Naruto just looked at the Nara, it was times like this where you really saw the genius gene. And I thought I was meant to be the troublesome one. And so the week continued, with every day drawing closer to the final separation of his team. Naruto wasn't given much time to think about it, at the academy he was very quiet and didn't speak much, he had an annoying fan club which a girl called Ino seemed to be leading, and they followed him everywhere. He remembered when he told Anko and Raven about it, he could still hear their cold sadistic laughing, he shuddered. Shino and Shikamaru were his closest friends, Shino reminded him a lot of Sai and Raven, emotionless and stoic, Shikamaru was like Kawaii, a secret genius. Naruto was very pleased when he found a fellow prankster in Kiba, he was already in Iruka sensei's bad books, and Choji was just a kind-hearted giant. The work at the academy was fairly easy, he was surprised to find he was top of the class, much to the annoyance of Pinky and Uchiha. The class was just weak, he did well in the practicals, but made sure he never showed off. He was severely disappointed when he learned the Hyuga girl couldn't even throw a kunai starite. Hyugas were trained from an early age, she should have superior skills, but what's more, the girl seemed to have an inferiority complex and a huge crush on him, absolutely nothing like Nina. Naruto had feared the academy would stunt his growth, but he was sadly mistaken, soon as he got home he would have personal training with Anko and team training in the evening with Raven and the others, and in the morning he would up his weights if necessary and train with Kyuubi, who he had recently taken to calling Kyu. It annoyed the fox at first, but with the amount of talking they were starting to do because of the pointless academy, they were becoming more and more close. Naruto hadn't really realized till then how much he looked at Kyu as a big brother figure. You would think that Naruto had asked Kyu about why he attacked Konoha, but Naruto did know a thing or two about tact, over time he had come to trust Kyu with his life, and he was sure Kyu would tell him when he was ready. And with that the bell rang to symbolize the end of the day, Naruto shook his head off his trail of thoughts, when a new thought hit, tomorrow morning, he wouldn't see his friends again for another 2 years, Naruto could feel depression setting in. Naruto was more than shocked when he stepped outside to see Nina, unsure he decided to wait for her to notice him, more to his surprise was when Hinata and a boy from the year above who was an obvious Hyuga but Naruto had never seen before, approached her. Naruto just stood and watched. What you looking at? Kiba said from behind. Naruto inclined his head in his Ka-san's direction. The Hyugas. Naruto nodded doubt-eyed. Before Naruto could reply, Nina finally looked up and waved at him, Hinata, and the boy quickly turned round to look at him. Hinata blushed while the boy just glared, Naruto countered with his own glare. Nina walked towards him closely followed by the two Hyugas. Naruto, Gomendasai for not warning you I would be here to meet you. Nina greeted her son. It's okay Aka-san. This was greeted with shock from the Hyugas and his friends. You're Hyuga? Kiba yelled. No, I was unofficially adopted, but in no way am I related to the Hyugas. Naruto quickly stated. Naruto, we might want to hurry if we are to meet the others, would you like to invite your friends? His mother asked. Not tonight mum. And with that he waved bye to his friend and vanished out of sight much to their shock. As soon as they had gone the Kiba turned round to Shikamaru. Well that was unexpected. DCH, Naruto's troublesome Shino said nothing, Choji just ate away his disbelief and shock, Neji just glared at the spot in which Naruto had stood. Kiba wondered if he had realized Naruto had left the spot or if his eyes were set on permanent glare. Hinata was blushing and inside her mind was hosting a huge party. Naruto's with Aunt Nina, I might have a reason to visit him. I could go to Naruto-kun's house. I could go there before Ino. Or he might visit me with Nina. Otusama said it was a possibility she might train me, training with Naruto-kun. Finally Neji snapped out of glare mode and turned to his cousin and proceeded to snap her out of her dreamlike state. "Hinata-sama, we should leave at once, your father would not appreciate you being late." Hinata nodded in acknowledgement, her father was ashamed of her enough without her being late. Naruto and Nino arrived outside the house, they had to hurry, tonight would be a formal gathering at Anbu HQ. It was his last night with his friends for another 2 years. Naruto sure as hell was going to miss them. When Naruto was ready he came down the stairs into the kitchen so his attire could be approved by Nina. Naruto wore a black kimono with orange slashes on it, it looked graceful yet fierce, it had been one of the pair he had bought with Sai, except Sai's orange was slightly darker and was in the shape of his neck. Naruto wore a gold necklace with a pendant in the shape of a fox. This was also one of the pair, the other one was a raven pendant, and guess who that belonged to? Raven had bought for him an official recognition of their friendship, they were their own first true friends, and from that day forth were inseparable best friends, but after tomorrow morning they were no longer inseparable, the famous Raven and Kitsune. Naruto stood at the party among his friends, none of them felt like celebrating. Raven wore a black kimono with dark purple lightning bolts, Lita wore her same green dress, and Kawaii wore a hot pink kimono with sakura petals and slightly paler pink on. The party continued, many Anbu got drunk, and even some former Anbu like Kakashi, Anko and Nina, made a scene. Kakashi and Anko made out in the middle of the whole party, to Raven's horror, they were both her senseis, and she hated mushy stuff. Raven hoped the makeout was alcohol-induced. Nina and Ji-ino slow danced more than once, leaving Naruto very suspicious of Ji-ino's intentions from there on in. But the party came to an end with the Sandaime giving a speech on the Anbu elements, while said team just glared. The sun was rising over Konoha, and 6 figures stood at the gate. Lita looked at Sai and Naruto and pulled them both into a hug and began to cry, their hearts breaking with every tear she shed. When she finally pulled herself together, she looked into their eyes in turn and murmured a barely audible "be careful." Aoi then walked forward and threw her arms around Sai and told him that when she came back he better not be a social retard or else, and they all gave a weak laugh. Aoi then turned towards Naruto, and they hugged him, and they held each other for what felt like an eternity. When they pulled apart, Kawaii gave him a kiss on the cheek and whispered goodbye. Naruto just nodded, things were going to be quieter without her. Raven stepped forward, glared at Sai who returned the glare back, they then both broke the glaring match and gave each other a small smile. "Bro strong. You too." Then Raven turned towards her best friend, their eyes joined, and they kept the contact, eyes saying what they couldn't bring themselves to say out loud. Raven lifted her hand in front of her, Naruto did the same. Their palms touched and their fingers entwined, this was how they greeted each other when they were little. "Goodbye my Kitsune. Goodbye my Raven." As the 3 girls turned to leave the village, the team could feel their hearts breaking, they were not going to see each other for another 2 years, words they said before for comfort now seemed empty, exactly how they felt. It was as if someone was tearing them apart from the inside, taking away their most precious people and leaving them without their strength. It hurt so much. As the girls turned their backs on Konoha, none of them could hold the tears at bay. Naruto and Sai watched the girls' figures walk into the rising sun, making them glow with its morning light. "Sai, it's time to go," Yamato said, finally stepping forward after watching the exchange. Sai nodded and turned towards Naruto. Naru-chan. I'm not a girl, goddammit, and when you come back I'll prove to you how manly I am. I'll hold you to that." And with one final nod to each other, they gave each other one of their few true smiles. Sai also turned his back on Konoha and walked out the gates. Naruto stood there alone, barely withholding the tears, his heart was being torn apart and there was nothing he could do. His life had changed and wouldn't be the same for another 2 years. When the tears finally spilled down his cheek, Naruto fell to the ground, his body racking with sobs of loneliness, his shoulders shaking with anger, fear and sadness. When he pulled himself together, he made a vow to himself and his friends that he would get stronger, he would protect them, and he would never shed another tear until he saw their faces again, only they would now be able to warm his cold heart and hurt enough to make him cry. Naruto then turned his back on the gates and walked home, every step he took went against his instincts, every part of him telling him to go back to the gates, chase after them. Naruto had never felt this unsure before. When he arrived home he went starry to his room and collapsed on the bed emotionally exhausted, he wouldn't go to the academy today. When Naruto finally returned to the academy, Shikamaru could sense the sad aura surrounding him, he questioned his uncle on it. "Did Naruto tell you to ask me?" "No." "Then I can't tell you." "Why?" "He'll tell you if he trusts you." "I thought he did." "Trust has to be earned." TCH troublesome. Chapter 5. Moving and written by June X. It had been 1 year since they had left, only 1 year left, and they would be reunited again. To say Naruto had moved on wouldn't be a lie but wouldn't be entirely true, he'd become more and more stoic and only open to a few select people. Surprisingly enough, he opened up to his newfound friends. Shino had been first, often joining him at the back of the class and just sitting there saying nothing, completely cold to the rest of the world. Shino and him had eventually begun to talk. Shino was surprisingly very sarcastic and would often mutter at Iruka's comments. Shikamaru had then followed, joining Naruto in sleeping and lessons. It wasn't like either of them could learn anything, Naruto knew it, and Shikamaru was just a genius. Choji had followed Shikamaru, but related to Naruto and struggling to make friends. He and Naruto had an unsaid understanding. Hiba had been the last to join the official gang. He had been the one to make Naruto smile and laugh again. They pulled numerous pranks on Iruka, and with Kiba's added comments, Naruto could only laugh. Even though he opened up to them, Naruto still did not trust them enough to take off his face mask, fearing their reactions. He needed to be able to fully trust them. Strangely enough, it only taken 3 months for any of the Anbu elements to gain his full trust. He guessed it was due to the hardships they willingly shared. Naruto's home life hadn't really changed with the exception that it was a lot quieter. Naruto trained every night with Anko pushing himself to the edge. At first Anko had worried, but knowing his determination, Anko challenged him in all the ways she could. Under her tutelage his taijutsu and kinjutsu improved rapidly. He also developed his demonic precision style under her guidance. It had become Kaiu's job to train Naruto in ninjutsu. He was improving rapidly in these areas, throwing himself into his training. Much to his sensei's shock, being at the academy did have an unforeseen benefit. Naruto was never particularly adept to genjutsu, and his abilities were really suffering without his training from Raven. But, being at the academy meant Naruto went right back to basics, and surprisingly enough it was visibly improving the few genjutsu he knew. Nina looked out her window and sighed. It was a year on, and from what Jiino had told her Naruto was making progress with his friends, but it was his birthday in a week, and Naruto was showing absolutely no sign of wanting a celebration. Nina had hoped Naruto would think of inviting his friends to his party, but he just threw himself into his training. I wish I knew what was going on in your mind. You're so distant now, though you don't show it. You've stopped showing your feelings. You just train your body and heart around the clock. Are you so afraid to let anyone close again now? Please Naruto, open your heart to me. I don't think anyone could have foreseen that their departure would have led you to this. Please my son, it's time to move on. Nina held back a tear. She wasn't really emotional unless it came to Naruto. She had always been forced to lead a life driven by politics. She had always been rebellious. She was constantly told as a child she was ashamed to her clan. In the end, the only way to escape the Hyuga elders had been to join the Anbu. Nina was a good shinobi, but preferred being a medic nin to an elite ninja, but still nothing mattered if she could escape the clan elders. In a way she never did escape them, they still control her. Being a medic nin was considered weak, and so they had forced her to throw away her ideals so she could escape their controlling actions. The effect of her childhood caused Nina to grow up with a vast knowledge of a range of politics. She could debate anything, but only used that talent to rebel. The only emotion she would ever display was anger, and you only faced her fury in battle. But Naruto had broken into her heart with his innocent smile. Seeing him surrounded in politics, she had taken it upon herself to protect that innocence. No one would hurt her son. He would not be forced to forget his ideals. If only he would move on. Naruto turned the corner and saw his friends. He was on his way to another irritating day at the academy. Hey Naruto. Kiba yelled out to him. Yo. Naruto replied, raising his hand in a semi-wave. When they were all walking next to each other, Shika decided it was the best time to confront Naruto about the news his uncle had told him the other day. Naruto. HMN. Everyone was silently paying attention. If Shika was doing something without the word troublesome, it was worth listening to. Jiino told me the other day that your birthday's coming soon. Naruto scowled. Damn troublesome Nara, and well, I was wondering, are you celebrating it? Because Jiino said I was invited to the party, but you haven't said a word. Naruto's scowl just got deeper and darker. Oh, he was forced into a corner now. Forcing a smile, Naruto turned to his friends. Yeah, you guys are invited, must have slipped my mind. Heh. I've just got a lot to think about. My birthday is also the anniversary of 2 other events, neither particularly pleasant. Shika gave a sigh of relief, and they all nodded. Munch munch munch, when is it? Munch Naruto. Choji managed, spraying food on Shino. 10th of October. Naruto replied with a small laugh as Shino rubbed his glasses free of crumbs. The day of the Kyuubi attack, was that one of the anniversaries you spoke of? Kiba asked. Naruto nodded. Weird, not a cheerful day is it? Naruto shook his head. HMN, Naruto said there was another event that wasn't particularly pleasant. Wonder what that is, troublesome. Naruto stormed into his house. Kasan. He yelled. Nina poked her head round the door. Naruto's eyes narrowed. What's this party I hear about? Nina gave him a shifty look. Naruto sighed and slumped down against the wall. I don't have a choice now, do I? Nina shook her head. Would you say something already? He yelled at her in frustration. Nina just gave a schoolgirl giggle in return and flounced off. Everyone I know enjoys either manipulating me, seeing me in some sort of pain, or angry. Arg, I live with way too many sadistic people. And to top it all off, Kyuubi just laughed at his vessel's predicament. Training with Anko that night gave a new meaning to pain. He had to learn how to punch through a tree that was only 3 inches in front of him, but what was worse, it wasn't allowed to be chakra enforced. This was meant to be a last resort for when he was low on chakra. By the end of the night his knuckles were bleeding heavily and there were bruises all over his shins. He had successfully managed to kick and punch clean through a log. He felt quite accomplished, but Anko just ruined it by informing him tomorrow he would be doing the same, except this time with a rock. To finish Anko's night of excruciating torture, Naruto learned how to aim with the weapon shooters he had got for his birthday. Anko set up an extremely complicated training course with targets that needed an exact hit. When Naruto climbed into bed that night, his body hurt from all the twists and turns. He was very glad Kaiu would be able to heal the damage for tomorrow. As Naruto got ready to leave the house the next morning he spotted a very interesting pile of something on the table. The something seemed to be a pile of orange and black cards, curiosity getting the better of the little kitsune. He read the cards and grimaced party invitations. Great, just what I need. Kaiu just laughed at Naruto's sarcasm. Ah-san. Hi. What are these? Invitations. Naruto scowled. I know that. But why this many? I want a big party. Naruto scowled again. Ah-san, would you let me make my own decisions? I'm only inviting Kiba, Shikamaru, Shino and Chaoji, and the rest of my Ambu family. I want Hinata and Niji to come. Naruto grimaced at Nina's demanding tone. But I don't know them. Naruto yelled, clearly fed up with his forceful mum. But I do, they're nice kids, and anyway I'm positive more will end up coming. Naruto just replied with an icy glare which Nina returned with a stuck-up Hyuga glare. Losing the glaring match Naruto retreated and stormed out the house accompanied with loud doors slamming. Nina just gave a small smile. Naruto was coming back, just the fact that he was throwing a tantrum meant he was warming to his life now. Naruto arrived to school later than usual, thanks to his tantrum. He took his place at the back and handed his friends an invitation. Shino raised an eyebrow and Naruto just scowled. All of a sudden, he was glumped by Ino. Naruto-kun. Naruto grimaced at her shriek. Ooh, what are those? Naruto tensed. No, Kami-sama, no. Don't let her see them. But it was too late. Invitations. Oh. You're having a party. Am I invited? Well, of course I'm invited. Arigato, Naruto-kun. Ino screeched into his ear in obvious pleasure. Kami-sama, what do you have against me? Hi, Ino-san. You're invited, but shh, keep it a secret. We don't want someone like Haruno-san coming now, do we? Chaoji whispered to Ino. Naruto gave him a silent thank you. He had just been saved from the horror of a public announcement of his party. Grimacing, Naruto stood up. He had to now go give an invitation to Hinata. Hinata-san. He called to her. And then Naruto-kun. Hinata stammered with a full blush. My Ka-san wanted me to invite you and Niji-san to my party. Here are the invites. Naruto replied, nervous about being around someone who obviously had a crush on him. Arg got to, Naruto-kun. Naruto was really beginning to wonder how the hell she was a Hyuga. Just then Iruka walked in. Naruto sighed. Another day of pointless nothing. The day was a very special day. It had been the day of 3 events, a birthday, the Kyuubi attack, and the disbanding of Anbu elements. Naruto decided that they should just dedicate this day to him already. But the sign Naruto got ready, he should be expecting his guests anytime soon. He had specifically asked for no presents. It would just bring back too many memories. His friends and family had accepted his wish. But now the real battle came. A whole day with Ino. What's worse was Anko would be there. He really feared what she would tell Ino to do. Naruto walked down the stairs to find his mother making a cake. While attempting to, there was a ring at the door, so Naruto went to answer it. At the door was none other than Chaoji, Shikamaru, Ino and Ji-Ino. Naruto smiled at them and led them into the kitchen, where they were met with the sight of Nina burning a glove. Sighing, Ji-Ino went to help the troublesome woman. Another ring at the doorbell, leaving the hilarious side of his mother. Naruto went to answer the door. On the doorstep was a blushing Hinata and a glaring Niji. Returning Neji's glare, Naruto reluctantly let them in. Soon everyone was gathered with the exception of a rather late Kakashi. There was Ino, Chaoji, Shikamaru, Shino, Kiba, Hinata, Niji, Ji-Ino, Anko, Genma, and Iruka. Everyone introduced themselves, and by some twist of fate, the kitchen remained in one piece, and Nina surfaced with a cake, though everyone was too scared to try it. Deciding to save his friends and guests who had not met Anko before, Naruto invited them out to see his training grounds. As they stepped out onto the grounds there was a joint murmur of wow. And only you train here, Naruto-kun. Naruto nodded to Ino who was currently latched onto his arm. The discussion continued with the academy students trying to drag out as much information about Naruto's home life as possible, but their minsits were just that bit more interesting. Hinata's minsit, I can't believe it. I'm in Naruto-kun's house. Would Ino stop hugging his arm? It's obvious her doesn't like her, but Naruto doesn't really like much. I'll have to find out what he likes in a girl. Damn, Ino asked first, he likes girls who can fight, I'll have to train harder if I want Naruto to notice me. Kai. Ino's minced Naruto is so hot, he's hotter than Sasuke, he fights better than Sasuke, and he's cooler than Sasuke, and he notices me more than Sasuke, there's no Sakura like there was with Sasuke, and Naruto's got more friends than Sasuke, and can you see a pattern? Naruto than Sasuke, lol, and Naruto is better at being mysterious than Sasuke, I wonder what's under his mask, I still think he's hotter than Sasuke, Naruto has more muscles than Sasuke. Kiba's minced, whoa, look at these training grounds, man they're as big as my clan training grounds. Man, I kinda feel sorry for Naruto, Ino screeching in his ear and all, I think my ears are bleeding. Naruto's family seems quite cool though, I still don't know why Neji and Hinata are here though, must have something to do with Naruto's mom, I hope they don't start hanging with us though, that's too much to handle. Taoji's minced that cake looked alright, though Naruto warned me not to touch it, everyone's busy, and all the food is inside, maybe I can sneak in, I'll just start to creep slowly to the side, slowly. And so the party continued, Neji glared, Shikamaru fell asleep, Chaoji ate the cake, Shino was silent, Hinata fainted too many times to count, and only Kiba, Ino and Naruto were able to escape Anko and her sadistic plots, especially one that involved a rather late Kakashi who had yet to arrive. Naruto began to wonder whether or not they remembered their alcohol-induced snog at the Ambu party last year, he shuddered at the thought. Your own fault for thinking of it, Ataudo. Ne, Urusai Kai Unai, I know where you sleep, and what could you do to me? Nothing, a big fat nothing pea. One day I'll make you regret that, fox. One day in a very far away time, you keep thinking that, furball. Naruto then realized something, it was kinda like a tingly fuzzy feeling, it was a feeling he hadn't felt in a year, it was happiness. Naruto froze, could it be, I am actually beginning to like my life now, without them, I don't understand, how did they manage to break my barriers, even Ino, Hinata and Neji, without them the academy isn't the same, and now the academy is my life. I can move on now, it's time to let go, because I can actually let go. I'm going to become a genin, I'm going to train, and I'm going to have new teammates, just like I have new friends. Raven, Kawaii, Sai and Lita, I cherish you in my heart, and though I feel like crying in joy now, I promise not to shed another tear, so you guys better hurry on back because I'm waiting to cry here. Naruto could hear Caillou laughing at that thought, I'm waiting guys. Come back soon, I have some people I want you to meet. Smiling to himself, Naruto enjoyed the party, he had friends and family, and that was what mattered. What was even better was the look Kakashi gave him when he finally arrived, he was proud of Naruto for moving on, something which had taken Kakashi himself well over a year. Nina, Anko, Ji-Ino and Genma all shared a secret smile, Naruto Uzumaki was back, believe it. Naruto was lying in bed, his blue eyes gazing at the ceiling, his head resting on his arms, thoughts reflecting on the day. Suddenly there was a slight tapping on the window, sitting up he pulled back his black curtains, outside his window 4 ravens were hovering, smiling to himself, Naruto opened the window and let the bird in, untying the package, and scrolls tied to their claws. Unrolling the first scroll, he gazed at the familiar handwriting of 3 particular females. Dear Naruto, how are you? Hope you're still training, else we're going to kick your ass when we see you. We saw Sai last month, he's still a retard, we didn't see Yamato, we think he ran away from him. Have you made friends? Raven heard there was an Uchiha in your year, she says you have to spit in his face and claw his eyes out, she's so nice and pleasant isn't she? Ow, she hit me, Lita's calming her down, damn, she has such a bad temper. You probably want to know what we've been up to, but we're going to save that for another time. You better be at the top of the class in the academy, you have to save all of your academy report cards and put them in a box to give to us when we see you, could the box please be pink? Ow, damn it, Raven hit me again, she says make it purple pinky purple. Oh, yeah go me, who's the genius? Ow, damn it. Now Lita's hit me, they're ganging up on me. Keep working hard and we hope you like your present, we bought it when we were with Sai, we've all got our own in our own colors, well we love you forever. And happy 11th birthday Kawaii Ichigo Raven and Lita. Naruto blushed, damn that was a lot of kisses. He started to unravel the second scroll undoubtedly from Sai. Yoneri-chan, how are you? I found this awesome library in the tea country the other day, there was tons of books on psychology and sociology, I'm going to be smarter than Kawaii on the subject, so much for being a social retard, I saw the girls the last month, we sparred, they've some great teamwork going on, I can't wait to get back and spar with you, you better have improved. I bet Anko's training you, and the academy's a real bore, did you make any friends? I hope they weren't girls, Kawaii might get jealous, and if Raven's feeling sadistic she won't hold her back. The girls have got your present, I'm wearing my version of it now, I hope you're okay and all, I have to go now, I have to do my mission, happy birthday. Sai. Laughing at Sai and his reliance on books, Naruto began to unwrap his present, which was wrapped in green, which meant Lita had wrapped it. Inside there was black box, a jewelry box. Naruto opened it, inside was an orange choker with a black kanjisp. For wind on it, Naruto smiled and put it on. Underneath the choker, there was a card, on the front was a picture of his friends holding their chokers and giving peace signs. He smiled. How much did they pay Raven to do that? On the other side of the card it said happy birthday Naruto. Smiling, Naruto put away the scrolls and lay back in bed. Things were looking up. Months later, graduation day. Naruto had just passed his Genin exam, and as the top rookie, of course the title was accompanied by glares from the Uchiha, a squealing Ino who was shrieking about how great her boyfriend was. Note to subconscious. When did I become her boyfriend? Oh yeah, I didn't. His friends were congratulating him, but Naruto wasn't paying any attention to that. He was remembering what his friends had told him about the top rookie and dead last flashback. Oh no, so someone graduates at the top of the class, and the person with the lowest mark gets the title of dope. 8-year-old Naruto asked his friends. Hi, Naru-kun, that's the way Konoha Academy works. Raven replies. It's a bit unfair, isn't it? Naruto questioned, he was after all about Morales. Hi, it's unfair, it's so cold recognition, most of the time top rookie goes to some genius or prodigy, most likely from a prestigious clan. But remember, any dope can overcome the top rookie with hard work, it's one of the quirks of life, just like being top rookie isn't necessarily a good thing. Raven answered. Nani? Sometimes, the top rookie is so much of a genius they think too much and become too accustomed with being the best that they get a superiority complex, or sometimes they gain so much power that when they betray their village, no one is able to bring them back, or even more they crumble under the pressure of the title and the expectations that come with it. Did you get the top rookie title, Raven? Hi. What about you, Sai? Naruto quizzed. Never went to the academy, Naru-chan. Howie? No, I came second to a boy named Haku, he was my best friend before he betrayed me and the Mist Village. So what Raven said is true. What about you, Lita? No, but I was considered the weakest on the Sound 6, so I guess I was a kind of dope, but they considered compassion and kindness a weakness, but just because I cared didn't mean I wasn't powerful, and just because I didn't flaunt my power every few seconds didn't mean I didn't have the ability to. In my eyes, there is no dope and top rookie, those are meaningless titles, everyone has strengths and weaknesses, but while power can aid you, it cannot guide you, let your heart do that, got it Naruto? Lita said, smiling at him. Then flashback. Naruto smiled, that was right, the title was completely utterly meaningless. Waving goodbye to his friends, he promised to see them tomorrow back at the academy, the teams would be decided. Naruto was sat down at the back, Shino and Shikamaru sat on either side of him, Kiba and Chaoji sat nearby. Haruka was just announcing their genin teams, a lot was riding on this, and they didn't know who would be with their friends. What was worse was they knew they couldn't all be together. And Team 7 will be. Chapter 6. A new team and consequences, written by June X. And Team 7 will be Uchiha Sasuke, Shikamaru Nara and Hinata Hyuga. Kiba patted Shikamaru on the back, who just said troublesome. And Team 8 will be Shino Aburam, Sakura Haruno and Choji Akimichi. Sakura, who had been crying over not being with Sasuke, just began to cry harder at her misfortune. And in Team 10 will be Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto Tensu would be his teammates. Kiba and Yuzuka. Score. He got his friend. Naruto and Kiba jumped up with a cheer and Ino Yamanaka. No. Naruto faintly heard Ino cheering through his horror, something about true love. Kami hated Naruto fact. Naruto resorted to whacking his head against the table repeatedly. All the boys, even Sasuke, pitied the guy. He was stuck with his ultimate fangirl. It was a horror they were glad they would never suffer, but Naruto would, the poor guy. When you're all finished, you are dismissed for lunch, and afterwards you will be meeting your new Jounin senseis. I am proud of you for making it to Genin, your life as a Konoha ninja starts now. Class dismissed. And with that Naruto stood up, thoughts wondering about who their sensei would be, maybe Kakashi. Nah, he's been my sensei for too long, and also he has a bad habit of favoritism, wouldn't he fair to my teammates? Asuma. I'm not sure, I know he has a wind affinity, but that's about it. What do you think, Caillou? There's always that Jinjutsu Mistress Raven was always going on about, but I think she's still a chunin. She could have helped me with my worst area, what was her name again? Kurenai, no Kiranai, no, that's not it either. Kurenai. That's the one. Kurenai HMN, I think I heard something about her from Anko the other day. What was she being all sadistic about again? Chunin exams. No, they're not for another couple of months, but I think it might have been the Jounin exam. In that case, you're in luck, kid, you might have a decent sensei. Screw that, you might actually be able to learn something after this year of nothing. Yada. Alright. I hope I get her as my sensei. Oh Kami, no. Ino's coming over, what's the betting? She wants to have lunch with me. She'll come out with some corny line like, "Oh no, Naruto-kun, since we're teammates and all, I thought we should eat together to get to know each other more." But imitation, though I'm not sure I was fond of the girly voice, so never use it again. Ino came over and as Naruto predicted asked him to eat lunch with her. "Oh no, Naruto-kun, since we're teammates at times like these." Naruto hated being right. Forcing a smile, Naruto replied to Ino's offer. "Sure Ino-san." Ino's face lit up, "So let's go invite Kiba, he is on our team as well." Ino's face fell, she didn't think through her plan clearly enough. So Ino, Kiba and Naruto walked up to the academy roof to eat their lunch. Surprisingly enough, as a team they communicated a lot. Keyword communicated. This included shouting. Kiba and Ino had some very interesting opinions about the other, some of their insults were quite impressive. The only time he had seen this kind of humorous argument was in his old team. Though that involved a lot more glaring. Flashback. It was lunch break for the Anbu element team. Naruto and Raven were sat in the tree, discussing the ultimate jutsu. Kawaii and Lita were busy making flower statues, and Sai was behind Naruto putting Operation Nari-chan into progress. Catching the poor blonde off guard, Sai pounced on him, knocking Naruto out of the tree. Naruto, dazed by the fall, was completely vulnerable to Sai plan. Sai began unzipping Naruto's pants, only to be thrown into the air, kicked into the tree, and having a blade pressed against his neck, all within 1 moment, and done by one very angry Kunoichi. "What were you doing to my sunshine?" Sai Baka. Raven hissed at him, her voice was laced with venom. Sai shuddered, but decided to play it cool. Finding out if he really was a boy or a girl. Sai chirped. The statement was received by a hysterical blonde blowing a fuse and screaming at his perverted friend that he was a goddamn guy. So Sai and Naruto fell into a pattern. "I." Naruto screamed, "Girl." Sai replied, "I." Naruto screamed, "Girl." Sai replied, "I." Naruto screamed, "I." Sai tricked, "Girl." Naruto screamed. Sai smirked. Naruto screamed in frustration that he had fallen for such an obvious trick. Realizing this was going nowhere, Raven interrupted Sai Baka. "Take this as your official warning, touch my Naruto in that way again, and you die a very, very painful death, K." And Raven said all this in a sickeningly sweet tone. So Sai just glared, so Raven returned the glare, and Naruto just continued to glare at the raven-haired boy, and then Kawaii got bored and decided to join the public display of glaring at Sai. Lita though didn't understand glaring, she didn't understand much of angry nature, and so innocently asked why everyone was so desperate to burn a hole in Sei's head, and if they were that desperate, she would get them a magnifying glass. And if you direct sunlight by a magnifying glass it can burn holes. I learned that in Toy Story. Also, it's meant to be great fun on ants. How sadistic. Everyone just sweat-dropped at the nymph's innocence before shaking their heads and going back to whatever they were doing previously, with the exception of Sai, who was rolling on the floor laughing at Lita's comment, which really wasn't that funny. No, really it wasn't, but according to Sai's books, when someone makes a joke you're meant to laugh hysterically, even when the joke isn't funny. It's called being polite. Sweat-drop. And flashback. Naruto silently laughed at the memory. In his own opinion, a team wouldn't be a team without rivalry and bickering. A team was meant to be your family, and it was small things like that which showed how much you truly cared. After all, arguments are caused because you value the other person's opinion and thoughts. You wouldn't retaliate otherwise. As Naruto snapped back to reality, he tried to concentrate on what his teammates were arguing about, something about noodles. Oh, now he got it. Kiba said Ino's hair looked like noodles, so she was calling him dog breath. Noodles, damn, now he wanted ramen. Maybe he could go to Ichiraku's, SP. Right, Naruto-kun? Ino asked. Naruto just stared into space. Naruto-kun. Boy, Naruto. Kiba yelled. Naruto looked up. Huh? Kiba sweat-dropped. Naruto Baka. Ino tried to. Kiba was unable to finish his sentence because Ino whacked him round the head. Itai. Nani? Don't call Naruto-kun a baka, you're not worthy of talking to him, you're a nothing. Ino stopped mid-sentence because someone had a very tight grip on her still raised hand. Naruto was glaring at her and killer intent was radiating off him. He tightened his grip and Ino winced. Naruto was scaring her, she was only protecting his pride. Why was he acting like this? Ino gulped. Naruto then loosened his grip, but still keeping a firm hold on her, jerked her forward and put an arm round her waist. Ino took a few minutes to comprehend their position and then blushed. She was in Naruto's arms, her face and hands against his chest. She then felt Naruto lean forward slightly. He then whispered in her ear. Ino-san, don't get me wrong, I am prepared to work with you, you are a good kunoichi, and I am flattered you are so willing to protect my pride. He began, his voice then became a dangerous tone, laced with warnings of pain. But if you ever, and I mean ever, insult my precious people again, you will pay the price. Do not make the same mistake again. I would like for us to have good teamwork on this team. Understood. Ino just meekly nodded. Naruto then pulled away, leaving a very flushed Ino in his wake. Walking off, leaving his teammates stunned, he yelled back to them, are you guys coming or not? Don't you want to find out who our sensei is? Shaking themselves out of their reverie, Ino and Kiba hurried after their teammate. Ino, Kiba and Naruto had somehow begun to chat normally by the time they reached the classroom. They were currently discussing their ideal sensei. Taking seats at the back next to each other, they began to list the ideal qualities. Ino started HMMN, first of all a female, good fashion sense, brains, determination, courage and beauty. Ino nodded. Yep, definitely beauty, a Kenoichi's beauty is the best weapon against male shinobi. How about you Kiba? Gender doesn't matter, I want a sensei with a sense of humor, who's skilled, brave and fun. Kiba answered, though secretly he would have liked a beautiful Kenoichi as their sensei. Naruto, what about you? I already know who I would like as a sensei, she fits a majority of the qualities you listed and she's probably one of the few here in Konoha who I have a lot to learn from. But my sensei has these qualities, understanding, calm demeanor, skills, determination, bravery, loyalty, brains, cunning and the ability to love. Naruto replied. Ah no, Naruto-kun, you sounded like you already have a sensei with those qualities. Naruto turned to Ino with a glint in his eye. Hi, Ino, well done on noticing, I have had 5 senseis, 2 fitting those qualities, one who was too sadistic, one who was lazy and always late, and another who was corrupted by the 3 sins of man, drink, money and women. Ino and Kiba both listened intently, after all if they were going to be working together, they had to know about each other's training, abilities and such. They looked up from their conversation and had to stifle laughter at the sight of the faces of the 3 people walking in. Sakura looked completely and utterly depressed, anyone would think she was an emo, rather than one of many rabid Sasuke fangirls. Shino had his brow furrowed in annoyance and was blatantly glaring at the pink-haired Kenoichi. Chaoji though looked petrified at the aura his 2 teammates were emitting, he was so scared, he was not even eating. Sakura then decided she was going to be a little Miss Prissy and lead the group stalking off to a load of desks far from Naruto and Co. She loudly announced, my team will sit here. Naruto raised an eyebrow and Kiba and Ino had to restrain themselves from yelling at the stuck-up Kenoichi. Shino, who was obviously fed up with the pink-haired Miss Perfect, stormed away from his team and sat down next to Naruto's team, much to Sakura's anger. Just as she opened her mouth to shriek at him, Chaoji interrupted. Sakura, shut up. We've had to put up with you whining about Sasuke and this team, you don't like us and we don't like you. So we'll be damned if we have to spend more time with you than necessary. Everyone in the room blinked in shock, except for Shino, if he did it will remain unknown. Chaoji, kind-hearted, generous, not a nasty bone in his body, Chaoji, had just told Sakura where to stuff it, everyone just sat there gaping, except for Shino once again. In a huff, Sakura sat down, whilst Chaoji ignored everyone's shock and sat down right behind Shino and began to eat. The next team to enter was Team 7, and there was just silence, complete utter silence. Later on in their lives, Team 10 would swear they saw Tumbleweed pass through the classroom. Sasuke was glaring at everyone and everything, he glared at his teammates, he glared at a piece of chalk, he glared at a desk, which spontaneously combusted, but that's beside the point, he just glared. Ichi had death glare. Hinata looked she was going to have a heart attack, she was so scared of Sasuke, and Shikamaru appeared to be sleepwalking, go figure. But it was just silent, eerily silent, but that's why Team 10 is around, well more specifically Ino the fangirl was around. Naruto-kun. Naruto and Kiba grimaced, though inwardly they were glad the silence was broken, they didn't particularly enjoy Ino shrieking. Ma, Urusai Ino Banshee. Kiba yelled, what was that dog breath? You heard me, noodle hair. My hair does not look like noodles. You stupid mongrel, go back to where you came from, you ugly mutt. No one wants you here, right Naruto-kun? Naruto-kun. Naruto though was daydreaming, and if he didn't have his mask on you would probably be able to see him drooling too. His thoughts had wandered off his feeling of deja vu to the glorious food that was ramen, how he loved the noodles and broth that was the delicious meal, and this point in time Iruka entered, ending the argument and also bringing the other students with him. When everyone was seated, Iruka gave a cough and began his announcement. Well done to everyone for making it to this level, I'm very proud of you all, but my teaching with you has come to an end, and so I will now pass you on to your jounin senseis. Team 1 sensei as Naruto was on the edge of his seat tense, he had to get stronger, he had been really slacking off after leaving Ambu, sure he trained, but that was nothing like being out on the field. How he missed missions, Naruto had loved going on missions with Ambu elements, they had done everything from infiltrations to assassinations, hell they had even once worked in a strip joint to gather information, now that was a pleasant memory, Naruto snickered as he remembered the humiliation and new experiences they had all undergone on that mission, and Team 7 sensei will be Hada Kakashi. Naruto let out a loud burst of laughter before yelling over to Shikamaru. Oi, Shika, you can go back to sleep, Kakashi's always late if you remember my party. Shikamaru just gave a lazy nod and a mutter of troublesome before yawning and putting his head back down on the desk. Teammate Sensei as Saratobi Asuma Naruto began to daydream again, and last but not least Team 10 Sensei will be Naruto was instantly on alert, his hearing keen and clinging on to Iruka's every word Yuhi Kurenai. Naruto inwardly cheered, his team had gotten the perfect sensei for them, he mentally thanked the Sandame, he guessed he really was trying to do what was best for Konoha. The woman stepped forward and beckoned for the team to follow her, Naruto, Kiba and Ino all gawped, and the woman she was in one word beautiful, she had wavy black hair, crimson eyes, and lips the color of blood, her outfit was slightly strange, but still rather flattering on the woman's shapely figure. Naruto shook his head this was Yuhi Kurenai, his new sensei and Genjutsu mistress of Konoha. Why did Naruto think life was just about to get real interesting with his new team? Team 10 were currently sat in the academy's gardens. Kurenai was leaning against a tree silently observing the three shinobi that sat on the grass before her. These three don't look like much, the Inyazuka and Yamanaka heir don't seem very serious and seem to argue more than anything, and the third though being the top rookie, his grades were average throughout the academy, so at a guess I would say he got lucky, he has no bloodline limit and until 2 years was a complete unknown, most definitely a fluke. It's beyond me why Sandame wanted me to waste my time with these lot. Ah well, I best begin my introductions. Alright, Team 10 I'm your sensei Yuhi Kurenai. Tell me about yourselves likes, dislikes, hobbies and future dreams. Ah no, Kurenai-sensei, why don't you go first and show us how it's done? Ino asked. My name is Yuhi Kurenai, I like flowers, dango and a certain someone the three genin raised an eyebrow at the someone I dislike nosy people, tardiness and slackers basically Kakashi, my hobbies are gardening and working on my genjutsu. My dream I have already achieved and that was to achieve the rank of Jounin and the title of Genjutsu Mistress of Konoha. Next Inyazuka. My name is Kiba Inyazuka, I like dogs especially Akamaru. I also like my mates, Shika, Cho, Shino and Naru. I dislike people who don't like dogs and people who hurt Akamaru, my friends or my family. And I really dislike Uchiha Sasuke and Inadal, Ino glared at him for that nickname, my hobbies are training, hanging with mates and helping out my family with the clan dogs. My dream is to take over my clan and become the best hunter nin for Konoha with Akamaru at my side. He has potential, but he won't reach it if he can't work with all the members on the team. Next Yamanaka. My name is Ino Yamanaka. I like flowers, clothes and Naruto-kun. I dislike dog breath, Uchiha team and forehead girl, because they are all mean to me. My hobbies are helping out at my family's flower shop and training. My dream for the future is to take over my family's flower shop and get the guy of my dreams. Great, another one with potential but lacks teamwork. Worse, she's a fangirl. Next Haddock Wannabe. Seriously, what is it with the masks? My name is Naruto Uzumaki, I like training, ramen, pulling pranks, and a certain load of people, I also like most of the people I've interacted with in the academy. I dislike people who are judgmental and blind, people who interfere, and certain nin who hurt my best friends. My hobby is training. My dream is to be reunited with 4 people and achieve our revenge or acknowledgement so we can finally live our lives. Can we say mind of an adult? This kid sure is mature, I take back the fluke thing. Well, you are all individuals with potential. I want you to meet me at Training Grounds 22 tomorrow at midday, you will be taking part in a survival test, bring your ninja gear, come prepared to risk being failed and sent back to the academy. And with that Kurenai disappeared in a whirl of leaves. Naruto quickly followed suit, leaving a gaping Kiba and Ino who were still in shock at what their new sensei had said. Akamaru and I are going to ace this test, we won't be sent back to the academy, tough luck for Ino though, she's as hopeless as they come. This is a test of true love. This is my chance to show Naruto that I'm more worthy of his attention and affections than Kiba. Naruto is so cool, chasing after 3 missing nin, will make a great pair, the deadly Uzumaki couple. Chapter 7. Paint my nails. By June X flashback, Naruto was happy. He had spent all day training with Kakashi sensei, and now he was going to his best friend's room to see how her day went. The little 5-year-old's grin only grew bigger as he continued skipping down the hallway. Arriving at a black painted door with a purple lightning bolt drawn on the door sign, Naruto knocked. The door opened to reveal a 7-year-old girl, who mechanically glared at her visitor, upon realizing who it was her eyes softened before letting her best friend into her room. Naruto happily skipped in and spun round to face Raven, he automatically began taking in her outfit, it was a brand new one, as she had just passed her genin test. Raven wore a purple t-shirt with a fishnet shirt underneath, she wore a black leather miniskirt that had slits up the side and black jogging shorts underneath. On her arms she wore black silk fingerless gloves that came up to her elbow and black knee-high boots. Her long raven hair was tied up in a loose high ponytail, so strands of hair had come loose and framed her face, and to finish the look off, she wore the gold raven necklace that he had given her in acknowledgement of their friendship. Naruto felt a bit plain in his black t-shirt and orange shorts. Shaking his head, Naruto broke out into a grin. So? Raven only raised an eyebrow in return. Did you pass? Raven nodded and gave her friend a small smile as he began to jump around the room happily yada. I knew you would do it, Ray. I bet you're the best genin ever. Did you meet your team and sensei? Another nod. Well. Raven just ignored him and walked over to her music system. I'm not a mind reader, Ray, so you're going to have to tell me. Raven still ignored him and put on System of a Down, Chop Suey. Naruto sighed as his friend began to headbang to the music. Sure, Ray wasn't the most talkative of people, but she usually spoke more than this. Either she had spoken to her dad, or she got stuck with a really bad team. My life sucks, Raven said finally as she flopped down on the bed looking up at the ceiling. Naruto only rolled his eyes as he heard his friend's favorite angst phrase. He also flopped down on the bed joining his friend staring at the ceiling. The team sucks. She continued. It can't be that bad, Raven only replied with a scream of frustration before burying her face in a pillow. Naruto sighed realizing his friend was very tense. Reaching towards her raven hair he pulled out the hairband and let the dark locks fall loose. Reaching towards his side he picked up the hairbrush on the bedside table. Slowly and softly he began to brush her hair. In the year he had known her, Naruto had learnt this was the best way to soothe the girl. So who did you get stuck with? She gave a low growl. Naruto only laughed. That bad, huh? Raven all of a sudden rolled over and jumped off the bed. Facing Naruto she put a hand on her hip and began to relay her day to him. So dad says be a good girl, Raven, take the exams, so I take the stupid exam, which was ridiculously easy. No wonder so many ninjas are Kia if the tests are like that, the academy totally sucks. So anyway, because I did so well, not that I had to try or anything, I get put on a team that had lost a ninja. Bet you she died because she didn't know what to do. Stupid academy don't teach the right stuff. So I'm on a team with some no-name sensei, which totally sucks, and then I meet my teammates. They're both Uchiha geniuses, and one of them's grinning at me like there's no tomorrow, and I wonder why he's not dead yet, and he introduces himself as Shisui, and he blabs on, but I ignore him because what he talks about probably sucks. And then the other one is the well-known Uchiha prodigy Itachi. What do people see in him? Doesn't look like anything special, just a nice cold prick. The only thing decent about him was his killing intent, but I think it was directed at me, so that sucks too. Naruto had to bite his lip to prevent himself from laughing. He knew why Raven was unhappy, and it was really quite pathetic. Raven's father, who she completely hated, was good friends with the Uchihas, so she considered them as her enemy. The other reason was with a prodigy like Itachi on her team, Raven would completely disappear into the background. Contrary to how Raven acted, she wanted her father to be proud of her for once, but instead he treated Raven like a tool. Raven's dislike was only from misguided hate and maybe some jealousy, quite shallow really, maybe he should tell her. So in conclusion, my day completely and utterly sucked. Naruto couldn't hold it any longer and just burst out laughing. Through his giggles and tears of laughter, he managed to tell Raven his thoughts. Idori lies Hoshiloyu sounded. Ha sorry, it's just too funny seeing you angst about something like jealousy. Raven just glared, making Naruto laugh harder. When Naruto had finally stopped laughing, he told Ray to give her a team a chance. Though she was reluctant, she decided to listen to her optimistic sunshine. Hours went by and the two friends just enjoyed spending the evening in each other's company. That was until Naruto came up with a burning question. Ray, millimeters, what's the point of genin teams? I mean, surely it holds you back from your potential because you will all have individual dreams. Chance? That makes no sense, or are you just not saying the whole thing? Everyone is getting a chance to be Hokage. If the leader of the village is self-centered and doesn't know how to treat people, the village will ultimately begin to fail. I still don't get what this has to do with teams. Teamwork and leadership, learning how to cooperate with other people, a necessary quality for Hokage. Asuka. I'm a natural at cooperation, aren't I, Ray? If you mean a chatterbox then yes, otherwise you're a stubborn brat. Moo, so mean. But Ray, why would you want to be Hokage? I don't. It just mean tons of paperwork, which sucks. If you ever find out why, be sure to tell me. Sunshine, now help me paint my nails. Nani? Naruto asked surprised. Paint my nails, baka. Ow shite. Because Itachi paints his. I thought you didn't like him. Raven just glared. Alright, I'll shut up. And so they began to paint Raven's nails black, while Naruto hummed the nursery rhyme Pop Goes the Weasel. Then flashback, Naruto pulled himself out of his meditative state and blinked owlishly, taking in his surroundings. He was sat on his bed in his room. The time was 11 in the day. He looked down into his lap where his pet fox Kyuubi was curled up. He could still remember Lita giving it to him about a year and a half ago now. Sighing, he picked the fox up and put it on the bed. He strapped on his weapons shooters that Anko had given him and rechecked his ninja gear, putting on his mask. Naruto checked the time, 11:07. Good, he had time. Kyu? Oh Kyuubi sensei. Nani? Stupid Gaki. The memory. Oh right, yeah, did you get the information? Weren't you watching? There, I was sleeping. You're useless. Shut up, Kit. Did you get the information anyway? Yeah, if I'm right, the point of these squads is teamwork, so I just have to make sure Kiba, Ino and I work together on this little survival test. But now hurry and get there early so you can familiarize yourself with the surroundings so your sensei doesn't have an advantage. Naruto arrived at training grounds 22 at half 11. The first thing he noticed was trees, lots of them. That will be useful for concealing my presence. I wonder if any of the others can suppress their chakra. If not, then we'll have to take full advantage of the trees. Now what else is there? Naruto continued to scout the area, looking for land advantages and such. Normally Naruto wouldn't bother with this procedure, and ninja should be familiar with their fight surroundings, well at least try to know as much as they can, but a ninja should also be able to fight in any situation. But Naruto was fighting with two amateurs, Ino and Kiba were good for their age, but he was just out of their league. Naruto had no doubt that he could take down a Jounin if he fought to his normal standards, but Kurenai specialized in his weakest area, making her a formidable opponent, therefore if Naruto wanted to fight her, he wouldn't hold anything back. Now in most situations Naruto was comfortable with that plan, going all out stretched him to his limits, so he then knew how much he had to push his training. However, he would have his two teammates as spectators, and if he went all out with them around, they would surely get hurt. So if Naruto wanted to pass this test he would have to enforce teamwork, as Raven would say this sucks. The others soon arrived. Kiba was first and began to play catch with Akamaru, then Ino came and after exchanging not so kind greetings with Kiba, latched herself onto Naruto. After 5 minutes Naruto could already feel his arm going dead. But to his joy Kurenai arrived and told Ino to let go of his arm before greeting them. Glad to see you're all here, you passed test 1. Courage in the face of the unknown. Naruto sweat dropped, Ino squealed and Kiba cheered. How the hell was that a test? Na Kaiu Nai, I don't think I will learn anything if this is the sort of thing I will be challenged with. Nah, this is just a courage boost. She thinks you're all going to fail and is just trying to give you a few last moments of happiness and confidence before she crushes your dreams brutally. You make everything so pleasant, note the sarcasm. Yeah, well it's what being a demon is all about, sadism and sarcasm is the true base of society. If you say so, maybe Anko and Raven were demons in their past life. Strangely enough, I can kind of believe that, unless they're around you they're almost as sadistic as me, and that's saying something. Aw, I feel warm and fuzzy, I can tame sheet demons. Watch your mouth kid, if Raven ever catches you saying that you can wave your friendship with her goodbye. And then run and hide. I'll keep that in mind. Oh, sensei's talking again. Kurenai held in her hand 2 bells which were jingling. As you can see I am holding 2 bells. The aim of the test is to take a bell from me within the next hour. If you fail to get a bell from me, you will be sent back to the academy. One piece of advice, come at me with the intent to kill. Your time starts now. And with that the 3 genin disappeared into the trees. Brief story interruption. I am still learning how to do fight scenes, so please bear with me. If someone will help me write them, I would be very grateful. Unfortunately one of my co-authors, Dark Angel, is unavailable and he writes the action scenes for me. Also I chose the bell test because I believe it to be the official Konoha genin test. After all Sandaime and Kakashi used it. Also Kurenai won't fight properly because on studying the anime bell test in the first past of Naruto, I realized that Kakashi put next to no effort into that test. It makes no sense for Kurenai to go and use a genjutsu against what she believes to be 3 rookies. I am sorry if this will disappoint anyone, I apologize for this interruption. June, X impressive, Nakayu Nai. This is actually a well thought out test. By using 2 bells we are unwittingly set against each other. This tests our logic to realize that a mere genin cannot defeat a jounin. It also tests our ability as shinobi and teammates to put aside our pride and work together. Now how to go about this? As Naruto finally came up with a plan, he was left with yet another problem. Where were his teammates? Luckily for Naruto his assumption earlier had been correct. Ino and Kiba did not know how to suppress their chakra and conceal their presence. I wonder how the others are doing. No doubt Naruto has already come up with a plan, the guy's almost as smart as Shika. And Ino is probably dreaming about Naruto. Kiba suddenly felt a tap on his shoulder, warily turning round he came face to face with a black face mask. Kiba yelled, jumping back. He relaxed a bit when he saw who the face mask was on. Oh, Naruto, it was just you. Kiba glared when he saw Naruto raise an eyebrow in amusement. Well, what do you want? Naruto gave him a confused look. You tapped me on the shoulder. Still confused, Kiba growled in frustration, and there was me hoping you might have a plan. Naruto's eyes lit up. I do. Kiba sweat dropped at his teammate's light forgetfulness. To get the bells we have to work as a team. Kiba nodded. Well, that made sense, so before I tell you the plan we have to get Ino. That didn't make any sense at all. Why would we need Ino? She's useless. Kiba complained. No, she's not. Kiba, no matter how obsessed Ino is, she's still a good kunoichi, and her clan abilities are a valuable asset to this team. Kiba sighed in defeat. Fine, let's go get Inidal. Naruto looked at him for a second before cracking up into hysterics at the nickname. Kiba rolled his eyes at his teammates' antics, though secretly he was cheering. He was the only one who could get Naruto to laugh and smile regularly. He never saw the smile, just the curving of the boy's eyes, but he knew that Naruto by nature was a smiling and happy kid. He knew this because of Naruto's laugh. It suited the boy, the laughter was breezy and free. Kiba often wondered what made Naruto try and hide that laugh. It was a simple plan really, it just worked on the element of surprise and distraction. Naruto would make 2 shadow clones, his 2 teammates would set about making traps. Once Ino and Kiba had made the traps, one clone would begin aiming kunai and shuriken at their sensei. Another clone would then attack Kurenai, engaging her in a taijutsu battle. Because Naruto's taijutsu skills were above genin level, Kurenai would have to concentrate in order to land the hit needed to make the clone disappear, avoid the projectiles being aimed at her, and also avoid the traps. As soon as she landed the hit, Kurenai would be caught off guard by the fact it was a clone. Kiba would appear from behind, catching her unaware. Holding her still, she was left victim to Ino's mind transfer jutsu. Ino would then hand over the bells to Naruto. That was the plan. Kurenai fainting once being released from Ino's jutsu was not part of the plan. Kurenai awoke feeling slightly groggy. Is this even a word? She blinked in a daze for a few moments before her eyes focused on the boy crouched beside her, grinning like a fool. Blinking again, she recognized the Inuzuka boy. Looking up, she saw the other 2 genin looking down at her quite concerned. She did a double take when she saw that Naruto's arm was around Ino's waist. She then realized it was to support Ino, who was also a bit faint from using that jutsu, and though Ino was looking fine now, it was obvious she wasn't going to tell Naruto anytime soon. Drawing her attention to Naruto's other arm, her eyes widened at what Naruto had clenched in his hand. The bells. Either I'm really weak or this is an exceptional team. For the sake of my ego, I'm going to go with the latter. Looking up at the 3 genin, Kurenai gave them a smile. Well, that was some impressive teamwork from you guys, so I guess I have no choice but to pass you, congratulations. Kiba and Akamaru began to jump around in joy, while Ino just beamed at the praise and Naruto let out a small but very beautiful laugh. Well, you know what this means, right, Naruto-kun? Naruto sent Ino a very confused look. We have to go shopping to celebrate. Naruto grew very scared and threw Kiba a desperate look. Kiba just laughed at his teammate's predicament. Naruto growled, and as Ino began to drag him off, he grabbed Kiba and pulled him along. Akamaru followed his master, barking. As they started to walk out of her sight, Kurenai laughed as she could still hear Ino's chattering, Naruto's wails for help and Kiba's scream of frustration at Naruto for pulling him along, all of this accompanied by Akamaru's barks. Team Kurenai was loud, argumentative and childish, and yet they had the potential to be the best. Ino squealed, Naruto-kun isn't that just the cutest? Naruto gave another weary nod. Oh, Naruto-kun, wouldn't that just look great on me? Naruto gave Ino another weak smile before turning and clinging onto Kiba like he was the boy's lifeline. Kiba patted the boy on his back as the blonde gave another muffled wail of terror. Naruto-kun, dog breath, carry my bags for me. The girl said before dumping another ridiculous load of bags on the poor boys. How does she do it? Naruto yelled in Kiba's ears. Kiba turned round and yelled his answer back to Naruto in a desperate attempt to be heard over Ino's squeals. I don't know, but I blame it on the stupid commie up there who decided to give these girls ridiculous stamina and what seems to be endless amounts of money. Oh, Naruto-kun, look at that. Naruto looked up at Ino's especially loud squeal. Looking up, he shook his head in amusement. Hanging up in a stall were 3 particularly large plushies, one of a pig, one of a kitsune and one of a dog. Aren't they just perfect? Ino questioned Naruto, giving him what sounded like a lovesick sigh. One for me, you and Kiba. It's like a sign that this team was meant be. After the purchase of the 3 plushies, the teammates waved goodbye to each other and set off home. Upon his arrival home, Naruto had only just stepped in the house when he was glumped by his Ka-san and Ni-chan. Anko ni, Ka-san, let go. The 2 women just ignored his yells and proceeded to drag him into the kitchen where Ino, Genma, who was on a mission during Naruto's birthday, Kofathor's Forgathimkov, Iruka, Old Man Hokage and even Kakashi sat. Looking at them all, Naruto gave them a huge grin. I take it you passed then. Kakashi said in his oh so casual way. Naruto's grin just grew even bigger. That was until he was glumped by his squealing Ka-san, Anko, Kakashi and even Genma. The others just stood by laughing at the childish antics whilst Naruto yelled out about being unwillingly attacked twice in one day. Grinning, Naruto escaped his family and grabbed his shopping bag and sprinted into his room, taking off his mask and throwing it onto the bedside table. He looked into his mirror and almost burst out laughing at the idiotically happy grin he sported. Pulling over the shopping bag, he brought out the fox plushie. Looking around his room, he checked for anyone else. Seeing the coast was clear, he gave a squeal and hugged the plushie to death. Once he was sure he had hugged the cute thing enough, he introduced it to his pet fox. You forgot about me, didn't you? You saw all of that? You were meant to be sleeping. Well, I wasn't. Damn fox. Damn brat. With a small smile Naruto put the plushie on his bed and headed downstairs, but stopped when he heard murmurs coming from the kitchen. Stealthily he began to eavesdrop. It's good you know. Millimeters, it's about time he started to make solid friendships. He has friends but they aren't close enough. To make him grin like that, you know what this means. He's forgetting about Raven, Sai, Kawaii and Lita. About time. Gasping in shock Naruto ran away before he could hear anymore. As he made it to his room tears began to leak from his eyes. Rushing into his room, he looked into a mirror and fell backwards in shock. No, it can't be true. Please no. Kit. Calm down. Kit. Listen to me. But Naruto blocked out Kyuubi's pleas. Looking over at his bedside table Naruto looked at the two precious items he had forgotten about this morning. Clutching them he fell onto his bed, tears soaking his pillow. Naruto fell asleep crying. And as the moon rose that night, two objects glinted in the moonlight, two necklaces, one an orange choker and the other a golden kitsune pendant. Both necklaces were being held tight to the chest of a crying blonde boy. Naruto growled at the Hokage. If I have to do another D mission I swear I'm going to run away and find the Ambu Elements team. I'm fed up of pointless missions and endless training. I want to be out on the field. Luckily for Naruto so were Ino and Kiba. That's it Hokage-sama, surely we're ready by now. Don't you think we could do a harder mission? The team's impatient. To everyone's surprise it was Kurenai that spoke. The Sandaime smiled, this team was working well as one unit, even their sensei was on the same wavelength. Fine I will give you a C-ranked mission, please show in the custom. The door opened to reveal a drunken old man. Tazuna-san here needs you to escort him back to the wave country. I am Tazuna the master bridge builder and these brats are the ones escorting me. Who the hell do you think you're calling brats? Kiba yelled, Akamaru barked in agreement. Two brats a mud and a bimbo. A bimbo? Ino shrieked in anger. Naruto quickly put his arms round her waist to restrain her. Before she could jump the customer, Ino blushed when she realized her back was against Naruto's chest. Tazuna-san, I assure you we are more than capable of being escorts. Please do not judge us by our looks. Kurenai-sensei here is also a jounin. In the case of the worst she is more than able to deal with the situation. Kurenai slightly blushed at the praise, while Tazuna cowered slightly at the glare the boy was giving him, a glare that just dared him to defy his words. Fine, I'm sure you will do fine. Tazuna said in defeat. Slight change in events here guys, the demon brothers attacked Naruto's team a day later. The same night as they left Konoha, the team pitched their tents and set up camp. As they all settled in for the night, Ino lay in her bed, she tossed and turned lacking comfort in something else. Sighing Ino sat up, it was a nice lukewarm night and she was wearing a black silk nightdress which ended just underneath her knees. She had bought it when Naruto, Kiba and herself had gone shopping. Wrapping her fluffy black blanket around her slim figure, Ino stepped out of her tent, deciding to go sit by the campfire. Can't sleep. A familiar voice called out, her eyes caught movement and she recognized a figure sitting against the trunk of tree near the campfire. Naruto-kun, you too. Hi, my mind is filled with troublesome thoughts. Naruto said sighing and looking up into the starry sky. Ino giggled you've been round Shikamaru too long I can't sleep because something's missing. Like what? Naruto asked quirking an eyebrow. Nothing. She replied quickly looking away ashamed, a cute blush spread on her cheeks. Naruto looked again at Ino, she looked stunning, her face illuminated by the fire and moonlight, her eyes glittered and her hair fell like a golden waterfall out of its usual ponytail. Her lithe figure looked fragile and small beneath a large black fluffy blanket she had wrapped around herself. You can tell me, Ino looked at him and blushed again, she then murmured something which Naruto didn't quite catch. Gomen, what was that? Ino spoke again but a bit louder. I said, I can't sleep without my plushie. Her face was almost completely red by this point. The pig one we bought together? Ino gave a meek nod. Naruto sighed well that is a problem isn't it? Ino nodded again come here. Ino looked confused for a moment before going to stand in front of the boy. In one quick movement he had grabbed her round her waist and she was sat next to him leaning against a tree. How about for tonight, I'm your plushie. Ino looked at him shocked before giving a slight giggle and wrapping her arms around him. Sleep. He whispered into her ear, she inhaled the boy's scent and gave a slight sigh. He smelled like the forest, fresh, it was the only way to describe it. Her eyes fluttered closed as she felt his arms wrap around her pulling her close. Ino sighed in happiness again, she felt so safe in his arms. Under the starry night sky and near the warmth of a fire, it was utterly perfect. As the group began their journey again the next morning, a quiet atmosphere was amongst them. It confused Tazuna, as yesterday the group had been chatting non-stop. The truth was Kiba, Akamaru, Kurenai and Naruto had all noticed a suspicious-looking puddle. Ino however was caught up in thoughts of last night. Kurenai suddenly fell to the back so she could deal with any problems that arose. In one moment two figures attacked, their chains wrapped around Kurenai who managed to perform substitution in time. Ino gave a scream in shock before Naruto grabbed her arm and pushed her back to stand with Tazuna where Kiba and he could easily protect her. Kiba and Akamaru had performed their beast clone jutsu, each one of them taking on the one of the two nin. Naruto rushed to help one of the Kibas as the one of them was thrown against a tree. Naruto rushed in to defend his teammate. Wind Cyclone Jutsu. The jutsu hit the nin, and he was blown back and knocked unconscious. He jumped when he heard Akamaru give a yelp. The other Kiba had been defeated by the other nin. Kiba had transformed back into Akamaru, but the other nin had disappeared. Naruto whipped around and began to run as he realized who they were aiming for and who would be caught in the crossfire. Ino. Rushing to get in between the nin and Ino, Naruto saw the nin raise his claws to slash at the girl. Ino's eyes were wide with shock. Blood splattered everywhere. The claws went through her chest. Naruto. Ino screamed as the boy fell at her feet, a deadly wound through his chest. DBC. June. You hate me, don't you? Hit. Damn, that was actually good. And you left it on a cliffhanger, you bitch. June. And you want to know the worst bit? You don't find out what happens for another 2 chapters because the next chapter we catch up with the Anbu elements. Preview Kinda. Raven suffering from nightmares, Kawe is losing IQ points, Lita is at war with a squirrel, Sai is in the red light district. This can't be good. Will Raven meet a new character? Will Anbu elements get a new team member, and why? Will Sai learn emotions and social abilities from horrors? Is Sai gay? Will Kawe heart be broken? And will Lita lose IQ points with Kawe? Will Naruto live? And will we ever learn what Naruto's so goddamn confused about chapter 8? Nature, Sins, IQs and Premonitions. Written by June and Kid X. Oh we. A young girl screamed, her hands threaded in her blonde hair clutching at her head. That hurt, you bitch. She screamed at her companion, a raven-haired girl with a rather cold aura about her. Sorry, what was that? The raven replied. You heard me. The blonde shrieked. Whack. The brunette appeared along the two, her hand also connected with the blonde's head, just as the raven's had previously. Why do you always gang up on me? The blonde cried as she crumpled to the floor, still clutching at her head. Because you're a nuisance. Pick yourself up now, we need to keep moving. The raven answered. You do realize I'm losing brain cells every time you hit me. If my IQ score goes down, you'll pay, bitch. The blonde screeched indignantly. If you shut up and stop telling me about different flavor lip glosses every 5 seconds, maybe I wouldn't hit you. The raven said, rounding on her companion. Will you guys quit it? We've been out of Konoha for almost a year now, and all you do is argue. Please just stop. The brunette yelled, getting in between her friends. Fine. Both girls murmured as they reluctantly agreed. Isn't Naruto-kun's birthday coming up? The blonde piped up, the raven gave a nod. Ooh oh. What could we get him? I wonder what Sai will get him. I have to wrap it in pink as well. Ooh, and I have to make him a card. And, whack, Itai. The blonde screamed, what the fuck is your problem? She hissed at the raven vehemently. Awe, keep your thought process inside your brain, or has my hitting you begun to quite literally knock your thoughts out of you? The raven asked her coldly. Aoi just glared, her pretty pink eyes watering up at the pain and harsh comment. Bitch. Whack. And so the process continued with Kawe screaming profanities at Raven and Raven just looking plain bored and finding hitting Kawe a mere pastime. In the background, a young brunette watched her teammates and sighed. Bop. Lita twitched. What the? Oh. She exclaimed, rubbing a bump on her head. Her teammates stopped their activities momentarily to glance back at her and throw her an inquisitive glance. Something hit me on the head. It was probably Raven. Kawe grumbled, but only got a glare from the dark girl. Bop. Lita held her head once again as it was attacked. Raven merely raised a slightly amused eyebrow. Kawe though managed to catch a glimpse of her friend's assailant. Bending down, she picked up the object. It's an acorn. She stated. Thank you, Captain Obvious. Came Raven's sarcastic reply. Growling, the blonde made an unruly attempt to aim the acorn for Raven. It instead rebounded and hit herself in the forehead. Fuck. The blonde screamed, rubbing the soon-to-be bruise. Raven smirked in amusement. Bop. Both girls quickly drew their attention back to the nymph, who, PFT. Kawe bit her lip to restrain her laughter. Raven also had to do the same. To put it simply, the earth nymph was sitting in a meditative pose, hands together in a prayer position, all the while she was being pelted with acorns from an unseen attacker. Lita Kawe managed to get out in between her giggles. Are you being attacked by nature? The brunette's eyes flashed open, emeralds glinting dangerously. No. I am one with nature. It's not attacking me. She yelled. Oh really? So what's this then? Raven asked, picking up acorn in fake innocence. She smirked as Lita opened her mouth and closed it, looking like a fish desperately looking for a good excuse. Denial. What does that spell? Denial. Kawe yelled in a cheerleader cheer. I am not in denial. Lita all but screamed. Raven gave a sigh. The acorns were still coming, and she really wanted to get off this dirt road and out of the sun. She never was one for the sun. Usually she would just go fuck this, create a lightning orb and fly to the nearest village, but these were her teammates, her friends, and she really couldn't afford another teammate losing IQ points. With another sigh, Raven used her amazing speed to capture the attacker. Aoi collapsed to the floor in laughter when Raven came out holding a squirrel by the tail. "Lita, I think you're out of balance with nature." The Raven stated. "I am not. The poor thing was probably just confused about being around my comforting and nurturing force." To prove her point, Lita outstretched her hand to the adorable squirrel to show it friendship. It was all fine and dandy. Ow. Except the squirrel bit her. "Rabies. You disinfect her." Kawi screamed as she began to run round in circles waving her arms. Raven sighed, dropping the squirrel. Vermin should learn to fly if they don't want to get hurt, in her opinion. She knocked out her blonde companion, who had herself begun to foam at the mouth. Lita though was in shock. A creature of nature had committed a violent act towards her, a child of Mother Nature. Did it not know who she was? Did it not understand the severe consequences? Bop. Lita twitched as yet another acorn hit her head, her eyes turned to green ice, and she fixed a glare at the squirrel, and in her most deadly tone, she muttered a life-changing threat. "This is war. Okay, when you're quite done threatening the vermin, can we get a move on?" Lita turned round and gave her teammate a confused look when she saw her blonde friend over the girl's shoulder. "Rabies phobia," she said in answer to the look. Sending the squirrel one last glare, the girls walked into the sunset, trailing once more down the dirt road. Bright flashing lights, red, pinks, yellows and other neon colors, brightened up the stained sidewalk. Whores stood against buildings in cliques of friends gossiping about their lives and latest clients. Junkies stood in alleys where you could hear cats wailing and drunks yelling. A few people stood in the main part of the dirt road, trying to attract a few of the passers-by into their area of business. Buildings thrummed with loud music, brothels, clubs and pubs all stood alike, looking as sleazy and dirty as the other buildings. One building stood out with its bright purple exterior, red lights flashing, and a classy black and white sign saying in fancy letters "The Juniper Juice," a bizarre name which must have had a meaning at one time. It was the only building in the district where peals of laughter that didn't sound overly drunk could be heard. A young boy of perhaps 13 pushed open the doors to the entertainment house. The air was smoky and smelled of alcohol. The people reeked of sweat, but all that was forgotten amongst the huge grins on the customers' faces. The Juniper Juice was one of a kind, owned by a young man and his horse. The man, Kayasuk, was of about 28 or so in age. He ran the house. The whores worked for a good pay. They did their business in allocated rooms for their own protection. There was 7 of them in total. They rotated between being waitresses, whores and stage entertainment. The 7 whores brought in good business, having been a renowned clique even before the Juniper Juice. They were named after the 7 deadly sins. Luxuria, lust, gula, gluttony, avaricia, greed, acedia, sloth, ira, wrath, invidia, envy, and superbia, pride. Luxuria had long white hair down to her waist and crimson red eyes. She was awaiting her next customer dressed in a loose white robe with red lacy underwear on underneath only. Gula had short black hair and silver eyes. Her eyes were currently glazed over. She was intoxicated from drink and drugs, but still more and more sake found its way to her mouth. Avaricia had aqua hair and matching eyes. She was currently serving men in a skimpy waitress outfit. Taking advantage of their unaware state, she overcharged them, and her eyes glowed with glee as she counted the money. Acedia wore a black fishnet dress with a black corset over the top and a black lacy underwear underneath. She wore an open black trench coat. She was lying on a mattress, her blonde hair fanned out beneath her, offering herself to the guests. Ira had crimson hair and crimson eyes, currently entertaining guests upon the stage. Her spitfire personality was rare in the area, her rants on the world were humorous, and her sarcasm was as sharp as the vodka she took sip of regularly. Invidia had long green hair and green eyes, dressed the most decent of the girls, and the youngest, still maturing. She was often overlooked. She was also in a waitress outfit, serving guests with a bright smile, but a dangerous flash in her eyes. And last but not least, Superbia, brunette hair pulled into a sharp bun and dressed in tight black leather, cracking a whip for those men who needed a lesson. A young boy coughed slightly as he entered the place, his eyes taking in the atmosphere. Gula appeared at his side, a long posh cigarette in her hand. She exhaled softly. The boy coughed once more, and she used the opportunity to check him out. The boy had choppy raven hair which ended at his jawline, dark eyes. He wore a black fighting outfit with pouches. She then spotted the Hittite around his head, a shinobi. The symbol was in the shape of a leaf. Hi, I'm in need of your help," the boy began, an eerily innocent smile on his face. Before she could reply, Invidia appeared. "We're at your service," she trailed off, awaiting a name. Sai-san, I'm Invidia, what is it you require?" she asked sweetly. "I require the expertise of the 7 deadly sins. I think my last 3 S-class missions and SS-class mission pay is more than enough to ask you to shut the Juniper Juice down for the night and help me with my problem." Sai said, presenting a great deal of money. Nvidia and Gula eyed the money with wide eyes. Avaricious suddenly appeared at Sei side-eyeing the money with a great deal of interest. Sai-san, I'm positive we can comply with your request, Nvidia finally managed. Random interlude. The 6 o'clock news bold Raven italics Kawaii. Hello and welcome to this evening's news. I'm Raven. And I'm Kawaii Ichigo. We bring you the latest update on the squirrel abnormality. Is abnormality even a word? Whack. If I want it to be a word, it's a word. Got that? Hi. Yes, the latest update on squirrel abnormality. It seems that squirrels are turning against nature, brutally attacking their mother. Mother? Sweet Mother Nature. I didn't know you considered anything sweet. Sweat drop. Mother Nature has a sadistic side as well, you know. Have you never been in a lightning storm or seen a tornado? Oh, I thought that was just you in a bad mood and Naruto joining you in making havoc. So who caused the tsunami then? Oh, that was me throwing a tantrum. No, it wasn't, you were baking cookies. How do you know? Because you and Naruto forced me to help. Cooking is stress relieving. I use a punch bag to relieve stress. Then why do you hit me? You're my punch bag. So yes, you didn't cause the tsunami because you were busy enjoying my pain. Then who caused it? Sweet Mother Nature. I thought she was sweet, so why would she do that? She has a sadistic side. Oh, she does. I give up. What were we talking about again? Squirrels. Oh yeah. What about squirrels? Sweat drop. The brutal attacks. Right. The series of acorn missiles has led to extreme measures to be taken, and we kicked Lita out the inn, asking her to take her war somewhere else. Please call this helpline if the war ends up in your area 0 to 1 to 800. What do you want us to do about it? PFT Baka, we'd like to know so we can help. Mumbles under breath code for laughing at your pain. Where is Lita? Outside the tent with an OMFKS face. OMFKS? Oh my fucking Kami-sama Anko taught me it when I was 3. That explains a lot. Blair, think Lita resolved the war? Don't know, don't care. What was the news for then? Bored and wanted to announce Lita's misery to the world. Sadistic bitch and proud. Both look out the inn's window at Lita who is being pelted by rain and hail. Wait, no acorns. Lita is still watching them with an OMFKS face. Raven and Kawaii smirk, then wave, and they then go and lie in their nice warm beds. Somewhere in the world a squirrel laughs. So that's what I need your help for. Sai finished. Sai looked expectantly at the 7 sins and Kaisuke. The sins exchanged a few glances before all 7 women burst out laughing. Kaisuke smirked, also slightly amused. Acedia was the first one to stop laughing. She was lazy and it was too much effort to continue to laugh. Sai-kun, you don't seem to understand, we know nothing about love, whatever we do here is all an act, she told him. But if it is an act, you still must know about it. Sai-kun, there are a few signs on the outside, but it's impossible for us to describe the feeling of love. Luxuria explained. Still, what are the signs? Apart from wanting to be with your love, the signs can vary. Ira answered, but is love deep? It's the deepest feeling there is. We sins are the temptation which you must ignore, love is the virtue you must cherish. She replied. I still want to know, how do I know if I'm in love? You resist temptation. Gula answered, exhaling smoke. How do I know if I do that? This time Nvidia answered, we, she said, pointing at herself and the other girls, stand for 7 sins. Luxuria is lust, the least important. To resist this you must have the virtue of chastity. So are you a virgin? Yes. Gula represents gluttony, her constant overindulgence. To resist this you must have the virtue of temperance. Sai-kun, do you have self-restraint in every matter? Of course, Root gave me complete control of that. Avaricia represents greed. To resist this you must have the virtue of charity. Do you give all you can, Sai-kun? Yes, every mission I've been on I give it my all. I give my clients everything they want of me. Acedia represents sloth. To resist this you must have the virtue of diligence. Do you feel excited when you train? Do you train intensely and work till it is perfect? Of course, I'm on a training trip now, I must keep up with my friends. Ira represents wrath. To resist this you must have the virtue of forgiveness. Sai, would you be able to forgive a sinner? Some people hurt my friends and although it hurts and I am not in any way fond of the culprits, I do not seek revenge. I would listen to their side of the story. I know how lonely it can be when no one listens to you due to a preconception. Nvidia represent envy. To resist this you must have the virtue of kindness. Tell me, Sai, is there someone better than you who you admire and want to stand by, or would you rather rival them and stand in front of them? I admire Naru-chan, he has a nice personality, he is friendly and I am his friend, I stand at his side now, and I am content there. Lastly, Superbia represents pride. To resist this you must have the virtue of humility. What do you treasure the most about yourself, Sai? My art. And when you look at your art, what do you think? Do you hold it loud and proud and think it is the best? Or do you think it's okay, but it's there for other people's enjoyment, not mine? I do not show it anywhere, I cannot name my artwork, it is a mystery to me. What can I say and be proud of when I myself do not understand? There you have it, Sai, you resist all 7 temptations, and you carry the 7 holy virtues. Nvidia said, finally flashing him a grin. Why do you keep the virtues, Sai? Who do you keep them for? Superbia asked. I keep them because I'm a virgin because I have no interest in that area. I restrain myself because it is necessary. I give my all because it is asked for. I train hard to remain with my friends. I forgive because I understand. I admire because Neri-chan deserves a friend. And I am modest because taking pride in a mystery makes as much sense as claiming to see when you are blind. I do it for no one. Then Sai-kun, you are not in love. You do not keep the virtues because they are wanted by someone else. If so, you would remain chaste for your life. You would restrain yourself because just to look at your love would quench your want. You would give your all because you would want to show you would do the same for your love. You would train hard to remain with your love. You would forgive because it would be the only way you and your love would ever be at peace for eternity. You would admire because you love him, and you would be modest because your only pride is your love, and you do not yet have your love as yours. This is how I have come to the conclusion. You are not in love. Avarisha answered, finally giving Sai the full answer. So I have yet to fall in love with a woman. Sai gave a sigh before giving the helpful Haraniri smile. Arigato, Mina. Sai said, thanking them. Kyosuke stood up. He had red hair and violet eyes, a strong build and a fun character. It had been very unusual for him to be quiet throughout the little discussion. Everyone turned to look at him with curiosity. Kyosuke looked at Sai with a strange glint in his eye. Who said you would love a woman? And with that, Kyosuke leaned forward and gave Sai a full frontal snog. Sai froze in shock. When Kyosuke released Sai, he smirked at the boy's stunned expression and then simply turned and walked away. Love knows no boundaries, Sai-kun. Gender, religion, race, status and age, none of it matters. Kyosuke called before he disappeared into the back. Sai came out of his shock coma and gaped slightly at the man's words. When Sai finally stepped out of the juniper juice, he gave a sigh of relief. Well, that was definitely a lot more interesting than a book. Dream scene, and it's narrate fluff everybody. Which means minimal kid in her crack. A scream so deadly, haunting, and a name. I know that name, blood spilled everywhere. I know this a partial summoning. Why do I feel like I'm being torn apart? Raven was sad in her black lightning orb, except this time the size of the orb was endless. She was pacing up and down as if waiting for someone. Raven. A weak voice called out. Naruto, is that you? Raven. Naruto coughed up some blood. I think I'm dying. Raven's eyes watered before she grabbed her sunshine and buried her face into the crook of his neck. Naruto wrapped his arms around her, smiling slightly. You can't leave me. I need you. Raven, no. She screamed, pulling out of his arms. You promised. You promised you would stay by my side, that you would summon me if you needed me, and that you would kill Itachi with me. Uzumaki. Naruto does not fail a promise, especially not the promise of a lifetime. Tears fell and Raven shook uncontrollably. Raven, you will not die. She raised her head and their eyes locked, her violet eyes blazed with determination. You owe me. You made me live, you brought me out of my coma, it's time to return the favor. Don't be a fool, Ray. If I die, I die. Shoot up. She hissed. If you die, I die. She grabbed his shoulders and shook him. Wake up, sunshine. Where is your determination? Your blazing fire? Your bright smile? Your positivity? Brain. Naruto muttered weakly. What the fuck do you think you have Kyuubi for? Get that baka fox to heal you. I don't care what it takes. Do you hear me? I don't care what it takes. She broke down, sinking to her knees and dragging Naruto down onto his as well, her hand still clutched at his shirt. Get up, wake up, I don't want you here. Live. Do you hear me? That is an order from your team captain. Live. The world around them began to get darker. Naruto, please, I'm weak without you. Raven was sobbing, and Naruto froze in horror. He had only seen Raven in this state once before, when she was 10 and he was 8, when Itachi put Raven in the mental coma. This was the state she was left in. Naru, PLICN''T2PL. It hurts. Her words were just incoherent over her uncontrollable sobs. The world around them continued to get darker, and the lightning no longer retained its orb shape. Naruto began to understand what was happening. Raven was losing her mental stability all over again. Naruto wrapped his arms around her. He also began to let the tears fall. He was responsible for Raven. He had promised she would never fall back into that state. He never wanted to see her like how Itachi left her. Ray. He pulled her closer to his chest. Listen. He pressed Ray's head against his chest. Raven's sobs calmed down at the sound of his heartbeat. End dream scene. Raven woke up gasping in horror, her body racked with dry and empty sobs. No, she whispered, pulling her knees up to her chest. Please, Kami, no, not Naru. She cried herself to sleep. An change of co-author, Mina has temporarily taken over for Kit, not forever. Don't fear, it's only for this last scene. It was a normal morning on the dirt road. The girls were coming out of their tents, and Raven was already eating. What she was eating she didn't really want to know. It was better that way. Raven sighed. She was worried about Naruto. There was a slight twinge on her summoning, but it wasn't strong enough to pull her to Naruto, but it was enough to confirm there was a threat to Naruto's life. I have to be professional though. I must prepare for the worst. Anbu Elements is going to need a new team member, and in the best case the person would just become a backup. Away all of a sudden came flouncing out her tent. Lita looked up from where she was brushing her hair and Raven just ignored her. Nothing new there. Good morning sunshine. Lita giggled slightly at her friend's good mood whilst Raven was just Raven. Good news everybody. Raven raised an eyebrow in slight acknowledgement. You captured that damn squirrel. Lita cried, hope glistening in her eyes. No, Lita lost all interest in whatever the blonde was saying, but I am in lieu of Raven, and Lita exchanged a glance before sniggering. What? Kawaii asked, her pink lip glossed lips in a pout. Who with this time? Lita asked. Kawaii had a new love interest every week, even when they were on a dirt road in the middle of nowhere, miles away from civilization, but not squirrels, or so it seemed. Lita's eye developed a twitch at the thought of the bushy-tailed vermin that had been hunting her for almost a year. Naruto? Raven's head whipped round, her eyes blazing. What? Raven asked, venom coating her question. I'm in love with Naruto. Raven's posture relaxed slightly and smirk found its way to her face. Did I hit you too hard or something? No. Well yes, but no but well. I'll take that as a yes. Raven cut in. Well anyway, well you're wooing Naruto from all the way out here, where we have no contact with even a mass murdering psychopath who supposedly lives in these places, and Lita is twitching away. I have something to do today Jana, and with that Raven disappeared in a flash of lightning. We just got ditched. Kawaii muttered in shock, then began to laugh insanely. Boomerangs. Lita screamed, for the perfection, the total and utter perfection, she would win because flowers can talk to her, she had the power. I know better than to ask. Kawaii muttered, recovering from her slight hysteria and watching the brunette dive into her belongings. I'm back. Raven announced that night, a shadowy figure followed her. Kawaii was sitting in utter boredom and Lita was surrounded by boomerangs. Raven knew better than to ask. And I brought a potential new team member with me. Both girls looked up in shock at the face of TBC. What if Naruto Legendary Anbu Chunin exams? Thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.